blessed are we?
Live from Grand Central Bowl and Arcade, here's your hosts, Andy Johnson and Anthony Newman on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1 FM and 1080 AM. The Fan.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome in. Happy Oregon Ducks Game Day to you live out of Grand Central Bowl for another edition of Oregon Ducks Game Day. Oregon taking on Rutgers today. Kickoff at 3:30 right here on the home of the Oregon Ducks, 105.1 FM. The Fan, brought to you as always by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Hanging out, I got a happy high school football coach next to me, Anthony Q. Newman. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on, buddy? I'm sorry. I've been yelling. I was yelling all. I was yelling all night last night. Yeah, we, very good football team we played, Lake Oswego.
Yeah, it's a big one, man. Whenever Westland and Lake Oswego get together.
But, it's just another football game because we'll see them in the playoffs. So we'll have to be ready to, they'll be coming after us looking for redemption. Yeah. But just like we did last year, we lost regular season conference game and won the championship. But 38-16.
That's not bad.
No,
that's not too bad. We're feeling pretty good.
I'll take it.
Yeah, you like that? Uphold the standard for 4 quarters.
Yeah. I'll take it. We have some dudes.
You got some dudes over there. That's what I hear, man.
We had a couple. The sad thing, we had a couple of guys, a couple of seniors got hurt their knees, and they're done.
Man.
But the guys that are going to step into their place, they're really faster.
Yeah.
So we are a fast team.
You got a lot of depth.
We do.
You got to have that next man up mentality, man.
And it's crazy at the high school, all homegrown kids. So it's pretty neat.
We're feeling good today.
Yep.
Now we got to see if Oregon can get that good taste in their mouth again. Because let's take a look back, Anthony, as we always do, kind of to get out of the gate. Last week against Indiana, we're down at Autzen, feeling the juice, feeling the vibes. Game day's in town. Dan Lanning's up there taking his shirt off. Everybody's pumped up. Top 10 matchup. And second half happened. First half was ugly and at times just kind of clunky, I guess is the way that I would phrase it. Second half, offense just disappears. Defense gets a couple of 3 and outs, feels like they're going to get back into the ball game, and then ultimately, even with a pick 6, not quite enough. So as we always do, kind of taking a look back, just your thoughts as now we're a week removed and Oregon taking an L for the first time this year.
Yeah, I think it's real simple. Oregon just got beat by a better team on that day. I don't know if they're a better football team overall, but on that day, on that Saturday, Indiana played well. Offense, defense, and special teams. Yep. I mean, they outkicked Oregon. The defense played a whole lot better. The defensive line for Oregon, for Indiana, they're not that big, but they were fast.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of movement. And then Oregon's offense, they struggled. Didn't have a great game, but you have to tip your hat off to Indiana and say, hey, we just got beat by a better football team. It's not like they were faster. They just played better, and they executed.
Yep.
And it's that simple. Yeah. It really is.
You mentioned all 3 phases, too. How about that swing at the end of the first half where Oregon misses a short chip shot field goal to go up 13-10 with 20 seconds to go in the half. You take the lead in the locker room. Instead, you miss it. You give up a defensive pass interference. They boot in a 60-yarder, and you're like, wait a minute. What? Hey, I thought Oregon was going to have a lead at halftime here, and now it's 13-10 the other way.
Yes.
And thankfully, the defense played great at the start of the second half to kind of keep them in the game, and the offense was able to tie it there for a brief moment. But, it's interesting. I wanted to ask you about this as a defensive guy because we talked about it going into the game. A lot of what Indiana will do is simulated pressures and, a bunch of guys up at the line of scrimmage, and you got linebackers and edge rushers and D tackles, and everybody's kind of standing up and they're moving around, and you're not quite sure who's going to come. And I thought that was the interesting part for a young quarterback still in Dante Moore. I know it's his 3rd year in college, but in terms of experience, he's only made 10, 11 starts. Not like the guy's made he's not Dylan Gabriel with 60 starts under his belt, right? And so there's a lot of new things that he's trying to, understand it. And the difficulty that can create for offenses of just those simulated pressures. And it felt like last week, Oregon, especially in that second half, they had a really hard time kind of gauging who's coming, who's not coming. And then even when you did block it well, you get maybe a back who didn't pick up the linebacker the way that he should. Or Dante, I think at times felt the sense of pressure that wasn't there because he was under siege a lot. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you kind of get that internal clock in your head of, oh, I got to get rid of the ball or I got to get out of the pocket. And sometimes that wasn't even the case. But that simulated pressure seemed to cause some problems for that Oregon offense last week. And now we'll see if they can clean some of that stuff up going into today.
Well, that's what you do when you have an undersized defensive line.
Yeah.
You want the guys to play fast. And you want that offense thinking. And as soon as they start thinking, then they slow down. And then so when you line up in a defensive formation, one series, the next series you're showing something totally different. And now the offensive line, who's picking up this guy? Now the quarterback has to make those decisions. Who's blocking who? helping with the running back, and you get confused. And Dante Moore, you're right. He's a young quarterback. He's a new quarterback. Yeah. And also offensive lineman. You got about 3 guys that are transfers. So it's Indiana did a great job, from a coaching concept of understanding this is what we have to do to win this football game. This is what we need to do to get them confused, to slow these big dudes down. Yeah. And then use our speed, use our strength. We did that last night. It's crazy. I mean, we showed different fronts because Lagos Oswego had a big offensive line. And we're like, no, we're small. We're fast, though. Let's show them something different, make them think and move and use our quickness. Indiana was doing the same thing. And it was crazy because the big offensive linemen for Oregon, they're great. They can block, man on man. Hey, they got you. If you're in their phone booth, they got you.
You're not getting out of it.
But they weren't in the phone booth. Indiana's defensive line were on the highway.
Yeah.
They were moving. Yeah. And so now you're confused. Who's taking this guy? Is it the back or is it me? What's where we sliding in protection? I tipped my hat off to Indiana. It was a great job.
It really was a great game plan on their part. And I think it was a good reminder, too. Like, a lot of the finger pointing after the game kind of went towards the offensive line of, why didn't they play better or why did they not have the game that we thought they were going to. And I think going back and watching it, even for me this week, it was a good reminder of how much protection is everybody included. I mean,
everyone.
Right? Like they had 6 sacks in that game last week, and that was kind of the eye-popping stat. 2 or 3 of them were just Dante Moore running out of bounds.
I know. Yeah.
Just throw the ball away. Those count as sacks, right? So you look, they had 6 sacks. What's up with that? Well, 2 or 3 of them weren't on the offensive line. Dante just got to get rid of the ball.
Yeah.
One of them's on Noah Whittington getting blown up in the hole by a blitzing linebacker, right? So at the end of the game, you look at it and say, man, what was wrong with the offense? I didn't think the offensive line played that bad. I think it was just kind of a collective effort. And I think it's also, you can touch on this from the coaching angle. I think it was a good reminder for everybody. And that's the whole point of losses. As long as you can translate it into teaching moments of ways to get better, it's not the worst thing that can happen to you. Some people would say a loss in October is the best thing because it can kind of sharpen your focus, kind of light that fire in your butt again. But it was a good reminder, I think, for those guys of, from a coaching angle, when things are working, you don't go away from it. They had that touchdown in the first half, and for the first time in the game, they used tempo. And you mentioned something earlier with, thinking. And Oregon's offense was thinking a lot.
Yes.
You know what takes away from thinking? When you go, hurry up. You just go get on the ball.
Because you know what you're doing.
Next play, let's go. Next play, let's go.
There's no thinking.
There's no thinking. You can't.
You
get the play, you hike the ball, and let's go. And you just go execute. And so they use that to, pretty effective ways, scoring that first touchdown, the only offensive touchdown that they had. And they didn't go back to it the rest of the game. I thought they ran the ball effectively in between the guards and the interior throughout the course of the game. And then they kind of went away from it in the second half. And so a good lesson of when you find stuff that's working, hammer down on it and keep doing it until Indiana shows you that they can stop it.
Well, it's kind of funny. Dan Lanning said, we got out-coached. And I'm a guy that's, I don't believe in that, out-coached. The players are playing on the field. They have to execute the game plan. And if they're not, you might have a great game plan, but if your players are not executing, it doesn't matter what kind of game plan you have.
Right.
But what you just said, okay, they found something that was working. Oregon found something that was working. Okay, let's keep doing this because this defense is very exotic. They're doing all kinds of crazy things. If we just hurry up, they can't get set up into those exotic looks.
Right.
So now you keep them guessing. But they didn't come back to it. Oregon didn't come back to that hurry-up offense. So that's maybe a coaching situation where, hey, you got to come back to that.
Yeah.
We always say this as a defense. If the guy was wide open, okay, and he caught the ball and he ran 40 yards, God, man, okay, that was a busted coverage. I guarantee you that team is coming back to do the same thing the second half on the other side of the field.
Exactly.
So you, as a coach, you got to know that. Yeah. And it seemed like Oregon, hey, wait, this worked for us. Let's come back to that. But, I don't know.
It's a good lesson, right?
It is.
That's the big point. And that's where, I think I've been mentioning it throughout the course of the week when the schedule was released. Not a lot of juice on the Rutgers game. You're going out, Rutgers, Oregon, and what are we talking about here? And now all of a sudden there is, because I can't wait to see how Oregon looks and how they respond, right?
That's the key.
And it's
the key.
Not just traveling down the road to go play a team in California. You're flying 3,000 miles away, and you got a long trip, and it's just there's a lot that goes into it. And we've seen teams that have struggled, kind of going coast to coast in this new look Big Ten, where the travel is weighed on some teams and they've had to do it. And so start of the year you look at Rutgers. Who wants to play Rutgers now? I can't wait to watch game today because I'm excited to see how we're going to tackle it.
What's the weather there today? I know we get the weather updates for here, but the game's not here. It's what's over there.
That's a good point. Let me,
so what's because sometimes you're thinking about
kickoff.
What do we got, Russ?
Should be 63 degrees, partly cloudy skies, 0 chance of precipitation, and almost no wind.
There we go.
Hey,
okay.
Look at that. That's perfect
That's good.
day of weather. Right
That's
there.
great weather.
Perfect day of weather. Well, we got a lot to get into throughout the course of the show today, and obviously a lot of different angles and matchups we want to dive into between Oregon and Rutgers. We'll get you kind of caught up on everything that's going on around the world of college football here early on. A lot of interesting games in this 9 a.m. window, some ranked matchups, some big games going on in the SEC and the ACC. Washington and Michigan is underway. They're already in the second half there, so we'll give you some score updates from around the country. Again, we are live out at Grand Central Bowl and Arcade. We're having a great time out here. This is where the big alumni watch party is going to be here throughout the course. So if you're an alumni, you want to come watch the Duck game with some fellow fans, this is a great place to come hang out throughout the course of the day, and they got great specials going on. So stop by Grand Central Bowl. Come say what's up. We'll be on the air until 1:30, and then the big watch party coming up, kickoff at 3:30. Let's reset things, get back into a few more angles of that Indiana game that I want to talk about, and then we'll give you some score updates. That's all right around the corner, and that is coming up next. But now it's time for Ducks Game Day traffic. Well, not traffic. We don't need that, but we need weather every 10 minutes. Here's Jeff Rust.
Oh, goodness, yes. Like I said, here in Portland, it's 53 and mostly cloudy. We have got, we're looking at a high of 62. Going to stay cloudy, a chance of precipitation increasing ever so slightly throughout the day. In Piscataway at 68 and partly cloudy. For the 6:30 local kick time, 63 degrees, partly cloudy skies, 0 chance of precipitation, and almost no wind. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
I'm Piera Palazzolo, VP of Digital Marketing for the American Management Association, a company focused on the management training skills and improved SEO saw immediate increases in site traffic and web revenue. If you're in need of managerial
chill. Celebrate responsibly on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, welcome back in. Live out at Grand Central Bowl. Just getting started here. Oregon Ducks pregame show underway. Andy Johnson, Anthony Newman hanging out with you all the way up until 1:30 this afternoon. Kickoff coming up at 3:30. Oregon looking to bounce back from that tough loss to Indiana. Before we wrap up this segment, I'll give you some score updates around the country, what's going on here early in the slate this early Saturday morning. And I'd like to announce I just got my duck.
Oh.
Is it a Duck Rita? Duck Rita. Okay, the Duck Rita just got delivered.
Yeah, that looks good.
You come on to Grand Central Bowl. They got some great deals and specials going on. Big alumni watch party.
Wow.
Later on today, we're going to make
fancy.
Jeff Rust
nice and
jealous
fancy.
back
Look
in the
at that.
studio.
Look at that.
Cheers
Wow.
to you, Jeff Rust. I love you, buddy. Let's
I hate you guys so much.
Let's look at something, Anthony, from last week's game as we're kind of putting a bow on it, and then we'll start diving into Rutgers, obviously. One thing that we've talked about throughout the course of the year has been the running back rotation. How many of these guys are going to play? What's it going to look like week in and week out, right? Well, we got the news a couple weeks ago. Mekhi Hughes is going to redshirt, and we'll see if he ends up staying with the program or transferring. But he wasn't getting a lot of snaps early on in the season anyways. It's just been interesting to see how that's kind of evolved. And last week it ended up being Jordan Davison, who was the lead back, and a guy who I thought that they kind of, again, back to that point of going away from the run game, he was very effective in the first half running the football, and they kind of went away from it. He averaged 7.4 yards per carry last week.
I know.
And you look at the other two backs, and now it wasn't a huge sample size, but Jaden Lamar averaged 5.7 yards per carry, and Noah Whittington averaged 5.4 yards per carry. And so they've ran the ball well. De'Aaron Hill was the one who we kind of highlighted going into the game because he had that big performance against Penn State. Wasn't quite the same for him last week, and I felt some of that maybe was just obvious situations where he's in the game. Here comes an off-tackle run, and Indiana had more hats on the perimeter, and they kind of outflanked him. But is this becoming a thing where we need to see this pare down? Is it guys not getting into a rhythm? It's interesting to see how that's evolved throughout the course of the year. And last week, it was Davison with 8 carries, Whittington with 5, Lamar and De'Aaron Hill with 3 carries apiece.
Well, let's think about this. Now, you have a lot of running backs, and that's a good thing.
Yes.
Because the guy, this is a contact or collision sport, so people get hurt. So, you have backups who can jump in there. The guys are rested. But I think it's a problem sometimes because here's the deal. If you're a running back, you get in that zone. If you're a three-point shooter in basketball and you're hitting them threes and you're feeling it, you want them to feed you because you're feeling it. And then you can't hit 2 or 3 threes and then just they take you out.
Right. Heat check, baby.
Yes.
Give me the ball.
So Jordan Davidson, he was running as a real, true freshman. He's unreal. He's running downhill, not east and west. He was running downhill, getting those extra yards, falling forward. He was looking good. All of a sudden, now he's out. He's on the sideline. And I understand, hey, let's put Noah Whittington in the game, maybe get him some carries. And then, Davidson's just standing there on the sideline. No, get him back in the game because he's hot.
Yeah.
You got to go with the guy who's rolling. And as a running back, I was a running back in the day, long time ago, back in high school. You get a feel of the game as it gets going. It takes you maybe 7 carries just trying to get in the field and feeling like, okay, I understand this defense. I know what they're doing. I know their speed. But if you keep getting taken out, that's hard.
Yeah.
It is.
And I think it goes back to kind of just, it's always hindsight, right? We get the benefit of not having to coach or play the game.
No,
and so we get to sit out around afterwards and, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? This is, and it's so easy to kind of nitpick stuff afterwards. But I'll go back to kind of the message that I had in the last segment. I think you feel this as a coach and a player. Like, losses can be a beneficial thing as long as they're teaching you lessons and they're pushing you in the right direction, right?
Right.
And I think that's a great example of just something where you got guys in a rhythm, feed them. Like, Davidson only having 8 carries. The way he was running the rock, he should have had 15 in that game.
Thank you.
You should have used. I don't know how many of those carries came in the second half either, because I felt like 6 or 7 in the first half.
He did,
and he didn't really touch the ball in the second half, right?
Correct.
The other thing was in the first half of the game, like we look at Oregon and their skill position wide receivers and tight ends and all that. Kenyon Sadiq is he's a Greek god, right? Guy had 0 targets in the first half.
That's
not a catch, not a carry. No, not even trying to get him the ball. He had 0 targets in the first half. I want to say Decorian Moore, your true freshman stud wide receiver. I think he had 1 catch in the first half, maybe it was 2. And so Will Stein came into the year with the mantra offensively of we got dudes and I'm going to give my dudes the ball. And then in a big top 10 matchup, you got this elite tight end who's not even getting a target in the first half.
That's not right.
Again, it goes back to those teaching moments of you got some studs, you got some thoroughbreds on the outside. You know what you want to do today? Get them the ball. Find a way to get those guys the ball, and I hope that's a teaching moment for them.
You just helped Indiana's defense.
Exactly.
Because during the week, Indiana is saying we need to stop 18.
Yes.
And they might have a double coverage on this guy because they know he is the dude.
Yep.
If they're going to throw him the ball, he's the tight end that we have to deal with.
Yep.
And you don't give him any targets the first half? He should be having 5 or 6.
A half every game. He should be having, and I don't care if you're tossing it to him on a fly sweep. I don't care if it's a quick hitch. I don't care if you're running a wheel route. It doesn't matter to me. Just finding ways to get him involved in the offense and the game plan.
Yeah, that's a mistake.
That's got to be a blueprint for what you're trying to do.
Yes.
And so, you know, a lot of stuff that Oregon can clean up. And I mentioned it on Monday in the aftermath of the game. It's funny when you go a season undefeated. It's almost like Duck fans had to remember how to lose a regular season game again. They went 13-0 last year, and then obviously it ended. But you know, when you lose the way they did in the Rose Bowl, there's no chance to bounce back from that. That's the end of your season. There's no game the next week. It doesn't continue. Now you get the benefit of getting that kind of anger, you know, kind of that fire lighting under you throughout the course of the week, and you get a chance to go respond to it. In his last 30 regular season games, Dan Lanning is 28-2.
Yeah.
28-2. And the last time Oregon played for a national championship, what did they do in October at home in the regular season? They lost to Arizona. Arizona came to town on a Thursday night. Oregon was wearing the breast cancer helmets, and they lost. And it was like, oh, my, Oregon at home to Arizona? What's happening here? And they had a chance to play that Arizona team again in the Pac-12 title, and they beat them by 50 points and went on to play for a national title. And so it doesn't have to define your season. The landscape of the sport is totally new. Can't wait, man. I'm excited for this one just to see what they look like and what the energy is going to be like. Let's take a quick look around. Just what's going on. I want to give everybody an update in case you're driving around or you haven't had a chance to sit in front of your TV. Maybe you're on your way to your kid's soccer game or something. Everybody's busy on Saturdays. Michigan and Washington, probably the one we're watching the closest here today. Interesting game early. Michigan super banged up right now. Lost an offensive lineman earlier. They're down a couple of tight ends. That's a 7-7 game, about halfway through the third quarter. Washington got a score at the end of the first half to tie it up at 7. Both teams have missed a field goal, and so about 4 minutes to go in the third quarter there. Washington's got a 3rd and 6 in their own territory, trying to continue a drive. 7-7 in that one. Elsewhere around the country, one at least top 25 matchup going on right now, and it's a barn burner in the SEC. Vanderbilt has a 24-21 lead over LSU. That game is in the third quarter as well. A couple of 5-1 teams in the SEC. Nussmeier and the LSU offense finding some rhythm. We'll see if Vanderbilt can respond. Again, 24-21 there. And a top 12 team on the ropes. Georgia Tech is trailing 10-7 on the road at Duke right now, nearing the end of the third quarter. And so we might have another upset because you were a little busy last night. You had some stuff going on. Friday nights are probably hard for you to watch college football. But anybody who was sitting at home on their couch like I was, we got an opportunity to watch the old Miami Hurricanes drop a game.
Oh, no, I heard about it.
Team.
I heard about it.
Mario could never do that, right? He can't lose to an unranked. Oh wait, he does that every year. Louisville came to town and they beat him. It was an incredible interception to ice the game, where it was a deflected ball and a guy made it. It would look like it was going to hit the ground, and he just found a way to scoop it up right before it hit the ground. Then it sealed it, and so Miami no longer an unbeaten team.
There you go.
So the undefeated teams are they're dwindling about halfway through the year. There's only a couple of them left, and Miami was one, and they went down last night. So it should be a really fun day of college football. And it's interesting that when the playoff was expanded to 12 teams, there was this theory that, well, regular season games aren't going to mean as much anymore. It's not, well, and then you lose a game and you realize everybody's hair's on fire and the sky's falling, and it's like, hey, I thought this didn't mean as much in the regular season anymore.
Yes, it does.
What's up with Will Stein? He's not a top 5 offense coordinator anymore, right?
Yeah.
That's just the reaction you get from losses. And so it's always fun, and we'll see if Oregon can bounce back. Again, we are live out at Grand Central Bowl, having a great time. Stop by. They got some great drink specials going on. Big alumni watch party coming up, 3:30 kickoff between Oregon and Rutgers. The game will be on the Big Ten Network, and we'll see if the Ducks can bounce back. We will go behind enemy lines. Here's what's coming up as the rest of the pregame show gets underway. Going to go behind enemy lines. Kind of a fun spin on it today because there's a theme for Rutgers football games that you'll be able to tell there. When we go behind enemy lines, you're going to hear from Dan Lanning. You're going to hear from Joey Harrington. We'll check in with Andrew Nimick. Oregon had a big recruiting weekend last weekend. What was the reaction to it from some of the top players? So we'll get to that coming up in a little bit. And I got to be honest with you, Anthony. I might need some help today.
Okay, what's going on?
The lock of the week's
are you struggling?
Lock of the week's not on a good trend right now. We started out the season so great.
I thought you were bragging.
We were 3-0, man.
Okay,
we were 3-0. What happened? That's 4 in a row.
We're
in this together, man. We're in this together,
who's
Anthony.
we?
Come on.
You got to turn your pocket.
Russ, tell him who's we.
Yeah, you got to turn your pocket.
Russ. we are in this together, Rust, and we need to find a winner today.
Were you saying
now you're lumping me in this too?
It's all about the team. It's all about the team, man, okay? It's all about my offensive line.
All I do is traffic and weather and push buttons, man.
So we'll see if we can come together and find a winner today for our lock of the week. We're having fun. Come stop by, say what's up live out of Grand Central Bowl. Let's reset, get you started, and start diving into this matchup, Oregon and Rutgers. That is next, live on 105.1 FM The Fan. But first, here's Jeff Russ with Oregon Ducks game day weather.
Oh, boy. Here we go. So,
It's why he stocked on the Call 1-800-GRANGER, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take DayQuil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this.
Fire up the foghorn. Live from Grand Central Bowl and Arcade, Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day. Coors Light. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly.
Mendoza, the snap. Back to throw. Sets. Looks. Wants to go down the left-hand side. It's intercepted. Intercepted. Finney inside the 5. Touchdown, Oregon.
We're getting you ready for today's game between the Oregon Ducks and the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Oregon Ducks football on the Fan is brought to you by Coors Light, Dick Hanna Dealerships, Philbrook Law, Zoom Care, Bellagio's Pizza, Langdon Farms Golf Club, Wilsonville Toyota, Mountaintop Metal Roofing, Victor Rico's Mexican Food, Legends Casino Hotel, Mott's PDX, and Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop.
Touchdown, Oregon. good.
Now here's your hosts, Andy Johnson and Oregon Hall of Famer Anthony Newman on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, welcome back in live out of Grand Central Bowl. Oregon Ducks Game Day brought to you as always by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. 2 more hours to go for us. They are open here at Grand Central Bowl. They got brunch specials going on until 2 o'clock today. They also got deals on Coors Light Tall Boys, the Duck Rita, which I got one right in front of me, and the Hop Valley Dang Green IPA. So some good deals going on. Alumni watch party coming up for the game, but you're welcome to stop by anytime, say hello, and you can even come get an autograph from the one and only OG number 8, Anthony Newman. He's sitting right next to me. He's here in the flesh, baby. The mayor of Eugene. He's here.
The original 8, though. You're right.
I mean, you are the original.
The original 8.
Every time I see an 8 walking
just
around.
Let you know. Yeah.
A lot of people have worn 8 since then, but somebody was the first. There's always got to be
the best football player
right?
to play at Oregon wore 8 after me. And so I don't.
That had to kind of chap you a little bit. Like, all the numbers, man. Come on. It couldn't have been 7.
Don't take 8.
Could be 6, 2, 10, 9. Any of them?
Don't take 8.
That was my number. We got a lot to get to over the next 2 hours. We'll go behind enemy lines here in a couple of moments. Let's start looking at this matchup, man. Rutgers is an interesting team where we go in. Oregon is a 17.5-point favorite in this game, right? So Vegas is telling you they should win it. The Football Power Index says you give them a 80-something% chance to win the game. The challenge that Rutgers is going to pose, and I'm curious to start here with you, buddy, because that is. Look, there's not a lot to write home about with their defense. Their defense is not good. No. You look across the board on all the metrics. They're not a very good defensive football team. And they have been in games, and then their defense has kind of crumbled as the game has gone on. But one stat to keep in mind, in all of their games this year, they have either they've been tied or had the lead at halftime. So
correct.
They have been in every game. And then, last Friday night they were up in Seattle playing the Huskies. They had a chance to kind of jump on them early. Didn't quite finish the half the way they wanted to, took the lead in the locker room, and then Washington's offense woke up in the second half. They end up losing the game by 20. But the biggest thing that you're going to see, and I've gone back and watched some Rutgers action throughout the course of the week getting ready for this today, they got a quarterback that can sling it.
Yes, they do.
Now, he doesn't move very well, but he can throw the ball. And they got 2 wide receivers on the outside. Now, we talked about this last week with Surratt, and he ended up having a great game against Oregon. And they got 2 wide receivers in Ian Strong and KJ Duff. Ian Strong is 6'3". KJ Duff is 6'6". So you're talking about size, athleticism, a lot of jump balls that are going to be thrown from this offense. And one note on the jump balls, when they throw those contested catches, those 50-50 catches, Strong, who is a 6'3" wide receiver, he's 12 of 19 on the year in catching those. And Duff, who is the 6'6" wide receiver, is 11 of 18. And so this young Oregon secondary, we talked about him. I wanted to get to Brandon Finney in a moment because of buddy, what a play he had last week. An absolute highlight. But it's going to be the secondary is going to get tested, and Rutgers is going to come out. They're going to throw some of those jump balls, especially maybe in the red zone, some goal line situations, and that's going to be a challenge for this Oregon secondary here today.
Yep, but if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm licking my chops.
Are you?
And here's why. When you have a quarterback that's a pocket quarterback, he's not a runner. He doesn't want to run. He can run, but he's not a runner. He wants to sit in the pocket and throw the football. That's when we can get after this guy. That's when I don't have to worry about a middle linebacker or someone spying on this quarterback. Now I can take that linebacker and put it back in coverage. If I'm going to play zone or if I'm going to play man, we have to watch the running back. So that is a positive for Oregon's defense. The challenge they will have is, again, the young corners, going against some tall receivers. But we understand this. Oregon, their recruiting class, all these young corners that are playing right now are 6'2" and taller. And that makes a difference. A lot of these corners, today are 5'10", 5'11", and now they're going against receivers who are 6'5". That is hard because it's like it's like blocking somebody out in basketball. Boxing somebody out in basketball. So the challenge will be for Rutgers to understand. Okay, who's coming after him? Who's coming after this quarterback? I know Tosh Lapoy, defense coordinator. He's going to come up with some blitzes that's going to get after this quarterback. And they have a front. Oregon has the front 7. Now they have to redeem themselves because they didn't do a whole lot last week.
No.
But they're looking to get the defensive linemen going, the edge rushers off the edge, get to the quarterback. He's standing there. He's old Tom Brady. He's not as far as just standing there. He doesn't have the arm of Tom Brady.
No.
But he's not going to run. and I am licking my chops at this one.
He had a play last week in Seattle where he was out in the open field with a chance to scramble, and he legitimately just fell down. Like, he just tumbled down to the ground. You're like, he can't move.
He can't move.
And that hurt Oregon's defense in the second half because Mendoza on those zone rekeeps just killed him, right? And it was something that I know that they tried to go in with a focal point to stop, but it's so easy to say. And then you're in the second half, you're all crashing down, and here comes the pole, and there goes Mendoza. And it was one of those things that they kind of forgot about in the second half of that game.
In today's game, when you have a quarterback that can run, okay, and also he can throw the ball as well, it is hard on the defense. It creates nightmares for the defense because you're looking, I can't play man because all my guys are running down the field, and all of a sudden now the quarterback drops back. He's in the pocket.
And if you're man, you're not coming down to make that tackle because you're not keying on what the quarterback's doing.
Exactly right. So anytime you get a quarterback that's in the pocket, that stays in the pocket, that can't run, I'm happy.
Yeah. Some of the numbers, by the way, the bright spot for Oregon in that game last week, I thought defensively they played pretty well. I mean,
they didn't play bad. No, not at all.
When you look at the end of the game, like if I told you going into the game, I don't know what the numbers were exactly off the top of my head, but it was something like 300-something total yards of offense, right? Some 3 and outs.
No, it wasn't bad.
Pick six. Like it was. They gave up back-breaking drives at times when they desperately needed to stop, but that's also the offense put all the pressure on the defense last week, and eventually you're going to break, right, when you're not getting a ton of help.
Right.
But the bright spot, unquestionably, this year defensively for them has been the play of Brandon Finney Jr.
He's playing.
Just insane, right? Just teams aren't even targeting him when they do. He has a pick six last week. A lot of those completions to Surratt were not against Brandon Finney. They were moving him to the other side of the field. And so right now on the year, Brandon Finney has been targeted 15 times by opposing quarterbacks. He is allowing only a 20% catch rate. He's forcing incompletions 26.7% of the time. He's not allowed a touchdown. He's averaging 0.3 yards per snap in coverage, and his passer rating when targeted is 11.8. So a lot of numbers there. What I'll tell you, Brandon Finney, really good. Quarterback's not good when they target Brandon Finney Jr. He seems like, and he was another freshman who got the chance to talk to the media this week, his mindset is, I don't want to be the best freshman corner in the country. I want to be the best corner in the country. And he has a chance, man. And I know some of this can get hyperbolic early in careers, and you never know what trajectory they're going to go. Oh, my God, Washington just threw another pick. Uh-oh. They just threw back-to-back picks near the end of the third quarter. They're down 14-7. Sorry, sidetrack. Squirrel. But he legitimately, Anthony, and I don't want to get too over my skis, man. I think just size, frame, work ethic, all those things that go into it, he has a chance, and this is coming. I'm talking to one of the best secondary players in the history of Oregon football. He has a chance to be one of the best we've ever seen.
Understand this. You talked about all these stats, but I think the biggest stat is he's a true freshman. That's the key.
He's 18 years old.
So now he's talking about, I don't want to be the best freshman. I want to be the best corner. Well, right now, you don't have any experience, realistically.
No.
Okay, so you're playing on athletic ability.
Yeah.
That means you are crazy good. Because wait till you get experience. Wait till you start understanding what teams are trying to do to you, and you combine that. He is unreal.
Yeah.
And so he's the type of guy that, you'll have him for a couple of years. He's
a 3-year guy already. It looks like it, right?
Exactly right.
Capitalize while you got him.
Well, exactly. And then, just to be take that challenge on.
Yeah.
In a game that's the ball's always in the air.
Yeah.
That's today's game. It's always in the air. So think about this. Who was the last freshman that was just a baller?
I mean, Oregon, the last time I remember him playing freshman corners was probably Graham and Efo, and then Graham and Lenore, I think, played. But they weren't this level.
No.
And that was more of a, like, Taggart, we're kind of rebuilding. Let's just get the young guys out there, let them play and take their lumps. In terms of, like, playing at an elite level.
No, exactly.
One of the best corners in the Big Ten.
Not just playing. I'm talking about taking care of business. Matter of fact, they won't even throw your way anymore.
No, he's only been targeted 15 times in 6 games. People aren't throwing at him.
That's a different story.
He's a dude, man, and he's been a lot of fun to watch, and can't wait to see how he faces the challenge today again. The opportunity for some jump balls, contested throws, his secondary is going to get tested. Rutgers can push the ball down the field, and we'll see how Oregon can handle that assignment. Let's go behind enemy lines and find out more about Rutgers. We'll do that coming up next. But now it is time for Ducks Game Day weather. Every 10 minutes, here's Jeff Rust.
It is 55, partly cloudy here in Portland. We're looking at a high of 62. Going to stay cloudy with a chance of precipitation, increasing ever so slightly throughout the day. In Piscataway, 69 and sunny for the 6:30 local kick. 63 degrees, partly cloudy skies, 0 chance of precipitation, and almost no wind. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
There are only about 4,300 publicly traded companies on the U.S. Stock Exchange. But there are an estimated 33 million companies in the U.S. Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. The average investor is missing out on over 99% of the investment opportunity that's happening in this beautiful country until now. True portfolio strength is found beyond the confines of the S&P 500, investing in promising companies before they go public. Private real estate, infrastructure, world-changing technologies. This is called the endowment model. The endowment model has historically outperformed the traditional model of just stocks and bonds. If you're an accredited investor and want more from your investments, it's time to think beyond just stocks and bonds. Call Trajan today, 503-210-5800. That's 503-210-5800.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. See website for details.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous
Cover them.
Here's the sweep, the fly sweep, and the double. Oh, the ball's loose. Oregon might have a chance and will get on it back at the 23-yard line.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
Welcome back in. Oregon Ducks Game Day live, 105.1 The Fan, and live out of Grand Central Bowl and Arcade. Teddy Ballgame's here. He's got his jersey on. He's ready to go.
Hey, that's a good thing.
He's fired up, man.
There, I love watching.
You got to start him early, man.
That's
you know,
good.
you got to ingrain it in the DNA at a young age. You know, you got to know the Ducks and go Ducks.
What an opportunity!
He had a great time down at the. What an opportunity!
There you
That's
go.
exactly it,
There
Dan. Thank you. He had a great time down at Autzen last week, despite the loss. He doesn't quite know that they lost. He had a great time seeing the Duck. Let's go behind enemy lines. Here is a live look at some Rutgers fans who were watching the not Oregon USC, but the Oregon Indiana game last week.
Spread's 11. Oregon's down by 12. They're on the 45-yard line with no timeouts.
Oregon's got an All-American field goal kicker.
Why didn't somebody tell me?
See?
That spread could have opened at 18, top 10 team.
Even so, we should have laid off some of the action to Philadelphia. Paulie did it all the time.
You see him here?
By the way, this is a hat tip to Jeff Russ for coming up with this audio. I'm curious if Anthony watched the show. Hold on, there's one more here. Here's some Rutgers fans watching a little film of some offensive linemen this week.
You see the left tackle? He fakes inside, then he crosses over with his right leg so he gets a spin move on the guy. Then he's in the backfield charging the quarterback. You see? I thought the tailback had it. You gotta keep your eye on the ball, AJ. The ball. That's what it's all about.
Now, is Anthony Newman, were you a Sopranos guy? Did you watch The Sopranos?
A little bit.
A little bit? Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah.
The tie-in is hilarious. So they obviously, they were always connected to Rutgers.
Right.
Gandolfini was a big Rutgers fan, and so he was always on the sideline. And when you tune into the game today, and I'll be curious to hear from Dusty when he gets back this week, I think their team takes the field to the Sopranos theme song.
Oh, do they really?
That's their, how we got Joker and the Thief different teams take. That's what their team runs out onto the field to, is the Sopranos theme song. So it's all about Sopranos for them out there, man.
That's good.
Isn't that funny? They shout out to Jeff Russ. We're talking, what audio should we go pull? Is there anything from Greg Schiano that we're interested in? It's like, same cliches every week.
Yeah.
He said, how about we pull some Sopranos audio? That'll be kind of fun. One of the all-time great shows. They play and do it out at Rutgers. What is now? You played a game over in Japan, right? At Oregon.
Yeah.
Now was that a bowl game or preseason?
No.
Game?
It was a preseason. It was a non-league game. No, I take that back. It was a conference game. It was against USC.
You guys played USC in Japan.
In Japan. Yeah, and got blasted.
And did it go well for you?
Went over there for, that was, we were there 10 days. 10 days.
10 days.
Yes, or about 8 to 10 days. It was just.
Well, you got to have some time to kind of acclimate your body a little bit, right? When you're going that far.
It was a wreck. It was a train wreck, and that's the only time. Okay, I think I was a sophomore that I got a concussion. And got knocked out.
Yeah, just hit.
Because one of those fullbacks, his thigh hit me in the head.
Oh, no.
And all I remember was on the airplane with an IV.
That's the next thing you remember.
That's the next thing I remember.
Holy shnikes, yeah.
Yeah. That's when USC was loaded.
Yeah, that's back in the heyday of USC football,
and that's when I'm jumping in as a starter going, okay, wait, well, what am I getting into here? Right. I was a running back.
Is this what I want to do?
Why am I tackling this guy who's just 10 times bigger than me?
You hand me the ball instead.
His thighs are bigger than my waist.
I want to go run those guys over. Why do I got to try and stop those guys, man? That doesn't sound like fun. But I think it is an angle of the game today. They're, the Sopranos, obviously, they're out in New Jersey. They're all the way out in Piscataway, and that's just. I don't know how you handled it as a player. Obviously, you probably experienced it more in the NFL than you did at Oregon because that's the old Pac-10 days where you're going up and down the West Coast mainly, right?
Yeah.
But you did have to go to Japan. It's a whole different challenge that they have to face. That's a long trip. You got to make sure your body's right, make sure your eating's right, your clock's right. There's a lot that goes into these long road trips for these young teams.
Well, it's funny when you talk about that. In the NFL, when I was playing with the Rams, we would leave 2 days prior if it's the East Coast. Anything past the Rockies, we would leave 2 days prior. When I was in New Orleans, everything were midway, so we just left the day before the game. And it was a little easier on traveling. But, talking about, Los Angeles going to Miami, I mean, that was a trip, going to New York, and then come back and then have to go back to, New England.
Yeah.
It was like, wow.
Well, then you don't even count into the flight back, right? You would just think about the travel there.
Yeah.
Because this Oregon team's going to leave after the game tonight. They're going to get home at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, right? I mean, I know there's some time difference there, so you'll save a couple hours. But that makes it a real big challenge of just how you handle it. I find it interesting that Oregon, and I talked to Dusty about this week because he's obviously sidelines and he's on the plane and everything. They left yesterday afternoon.
Oh, they did.
So that's how they handled it because I think it's late. It's obviously a 3:30 kick, 6:30 for them.
6:30 there.
And so their thought is we're going to get there late.
Yes.
You kind of go through a little bit of a walkthrough.
Yep.
Let the guys. They let them stay up super late.
Yep.
So then you wake up, you sleep in Saturday morning, this morning, and then you're kind of on a normal clock where you're not getting up at 7, and so they don't ever feel like they need to adjust their bodies.
Right.
And they keep their clock on Pacific time while they're over there.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think they're probably different in those weeks, right, where you're playing the big noon game like Washington is right now, where it's a 9 a.m. game, body clock time, and then you got to go maybe a little bit earlier. So there's a lot that goes into it. So they left yesterday. They got there, yesterday evening, and then let them sleep in and go play some football today. See how they handle it. First long trip. I know they've had, Chicago's a long one, but this one. This
is a long one. This one's a long one.
Coast to coast, baby. Long one for Oregon today. How will they handle it? We'll find out. 3:30 kick coming up right here on 105.1 FM The Fan. Let's start diving into the breakdown and some other matchups that we look for. I think Anthony touched on something in a position group that I'm very curious to see how they play and how they perform today, and Oregon will need a big game from them. We'll get to that coming up next, but now it's time for Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes. Here's Jeff Rust.
55 and partly cloudy here in Portland. We're looking at a high of 62. Going to stay cloudy with a chance of precipitation increasing ever so slightly throughout the day. In Piscataway, 69 and sunny for the 6:30 local kick time. 63 degrees, partly cloudy skies, 0 chance of precipitation, and almost no wind. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
The matchups, players, and position groups that will impact the game. It's time for the breakdown. Brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. When you think of flavor, think of Victor Rico's.
Fade run out to the left. Was it caught? It was! Touchdown! Evan Stewart.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, before we get to the breakdown, let's take a look at some scores from around the country. One that I know everybody out here has their eyes on, and we're watching it in front of us. Michigan's got a 14-7 lead on Washington. Damon Williams, the young star quarterback for the Huskies, has thrown a couple of bad interceptions here in the second half. One of them set up an easy touchdown for Michigan inside 15, 20-yard line, something like that. Michigan capped it off. Easy score there, and then he just threw another one on the ensuing drive. And the Washington defense needs to stop it. They did not get it. So now Michigan's going to have it about the 25-yard line going in with a 7-point lead, 12 minutes to go in the fourth quarter there. For as good as Washington's offense has been when they have run into these big boys, Ohio State a couple weeks ago and now Michigan today, they have really been bogged down and struggled to run the ball, and they got some injuries on the offensive line that are killing them right now. And it's not going their way, but maybe they get a turnover. Michigan with a 14-7 lead. And then how about this one? Vanderbilt, man. This is great. Can I give you a couple of quick stats on this? I know I want to get to the breakdown.
Yeah, go ahead.
Vanderbilt football is one of the worst programs in the history of college football.
Yes, true.
This is very similar to kind of what's going on in Indiana right now. Some of the numbers on this, so they're playing LSU today. They are up by 10 right now in the fourth quarter at home. They're trying to cap off a massive win. Two crazy stats that I saw this week on Vanderbilt that blew me away. They were a 2.5-point favorite coming into the game. It is the first time Vanderbilt has been favored over LSU since 1948.
Oh, no way.
1948.
No way.
Vanderbilt has been an underdog in 51 consecutive conference games. 51 consecutive conference games. They're a favorite today. And they have played 77 games against top 10 teams since 1978. This is the first time they've been favored in one of those games. And they got the lead right now. So Vanderbilt's got a 31-21 lead in the fourth quarter, although LSU is driving. Georgia Tech and Duke is tied at 10 in the fourth quarter as Duke's trying to pull off an upset over an undefeated team. You mentioned something earlier, Anthony. We were talking about, the first thing I look at this matchup is Rutgers' ability to throw the ball downfield and their big wide receivers and the jump balls and all that.
Yeah.
And I think it's an interesting matchup for the secondary and some of those guys needing to step up. I think you brought up a great point in a group that I don't know if disappointed in is the right word. Some of it is Indiana just got rid of the ball really quickly. As an edge rusher, there's just not a lot that you can do there, right?
Yep.
Oregon's defensive line, man. That is a group that I have circled for this game and saying, one, don't let Rutgers run the football on you because that's not really their MO offensively. And then, two, if you can get them into those obvious, go dominate the football game. Go take over and dominate the football game because, as you highlighted, this is not a quarterback like Mendoza who you got to worry about, is he out of the pocket? Is he going to run? All that. This Oregon defensive line's got a challenge ahead of them, and I can't wait to see how they impact this game because they got a chance to take it over today.
Well, this is going to be a nice matchup with the front seven of Oregon and the offensive line of Rutgers. They're senior loaded. They got a lot of seniors on that football team that have been developed, not transfers, guys that have been there. So that's going to be a battle up front. But you're talking about the edge rushers, Mateo and Tatum. They have to get home. They got to use their speed and get to the quarterback. And when you have a pocket passing quarterback, it's crucial that you put pressure, make him step up in the pocket. Then the guy, Amari Washington. There you go.
Yep.
He is the key to that defense, that front seven in the pass rush game, because the edge rusher is going to get around the corner and he's going to step up. The quarterback's going to step up, but there has to be Amari is so quick in his first step that he has to be in the face of the quarterback, and that's going to create more problems because the quarterback doesn't want to scramble. He can't scramble, so it's going to be a great challenge. To watch Oregon. I'm not sure what kind of defense they're going to play and what they're going to do. I don't know if they're going to bring linebackers or it's going to be strictly a four-man rush.
Yeah, trust the guys up front.
But it's going to be a great matchup between the offensive linemen of Rutgers and Oregon's front seven.
Yeah, you saw that early in the game. Amari Washington, one of those wow highlights where he just essentially shoved a guard into Mendoza early in that game.
That's what he needs this game.
They didn't really have a lot of that the rest of the game. And again, it goes back to some of it is Indiana's offense. And, I gave the stat last Saturday. Mendoza's getting rid of the ball in 2.5 seconds. It's hard to get home.
You're not getting to the quarterback. You're not getting to the quarterback.
No. Big and physical you are. You just need one bump, and you're not going to get there in 2.5 seconds, right? And so they did a really good job of game planning around that and finding ways to get rid of the ball quickly. And we'll see if Rutgers can do that and how Oregon maybe, are they bringing some more pressures? Are they blitzing a little bit more, to your point, to try and heat him up a little bit because he does not have the ability to scramble and use his legs.
Also remember, teams are they're copycats.
Yes.
They take something that's working for somebody else and go, hey, let's run that with our offense.
Right.
It's a quick game. For Oregon's defense, if the ball's out quick, you don't have the pass rushers getting to the quarterback.
No.
Because the ball's out too fast. Indiana was doing that. The RPOs, the ball's out. How do you get to the quarterback? Now the quarterback is running. He's keeping the ball.
Right.
Again, it's a hard offense to defend.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, too, on that note. Is there anything, and maybe the answer is just it's impossible because we've seen it, executed at a high level. Indiana threw a lot of those, I don't know if it's, essentially back shoulder fades, if it's comeback routes, if it's deep outs, but a lot of those where you're just pushing the DB up the field, breaking your route off at 10, 15 yards. I mean, there's no way to defend that. It feels like at times when it's executed right.
You're right. Because as a DB, you have to defend the deep ball.
Right. You can't get beat deep.
And if this guy receiver is running, you got to be running.
Yep.
And all of a sudden now the receiver and the quarterback are on the same page, and they practice it all the time.
Yeah.
They understand that, hey, if that corner is even with me, okay, I'm coming back because he has the, he can run with me, but now I'm going to come back for that, that back shoulder fade or that deep comeback.
Yeah.
It's tough to defend. But at the same time, you also have to practice that as a defensive back.
Yeah.
Here's what they like to do. If you're even with that receiver, think about, you know what, he's not going.
He might stop.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
He might stop. And if he's ahead of me, he's going all the way.
Yeah.
He's taking it the distance.
Yeah, then you're screwed. Yeah.
Then you're chasing. Then you're panicking.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a lot of those last week for Indiana, and you mentioned that copycat angle. I'll be curious to see if a lot of those throws are in Rutgers' book. They do a lot of jump balls, but are they going to maybe change that up a little bit? Some comebacks, some deep outs and all that stuff.
Right.
Because to your point, when you're running that way and the ball's out before the receiver even turns,
that's right.
How are you going to stop? You can't. So everybody's going to yell ball. It's a loud stadium. You can't hear that the ball's on the way. And then all of a sudden, hey, I'm running full speed. This guy just stopped. Now I got to stop on a dime, too. He turns around, ball's
tough.
there. There's 15 yards, 20 yards.
It is tough.
Just like that. And so they used that well last week. We'll see if Rutgers follows through with that. Let's go back to the other side of the ball for Oregon and some things we're keeping an eye on today. The breakdown brought to you by Victor Rico's. We'll continue after this. We're live out at Grand Central Bowl and Arcade. Stop by, say hello. Great specials, drink specials, food specials, and the big alumni watch party coming up later this afternoon. Back with more breakdown next. 105.1 FM, The Fan.
This is the story.
All right, live back at Grand Central Bowl and Arcade, having a great time out here today. Ordering some food. We got drinks going on. They got specials happening. Stop by, say hello. We'll be out here all the way until 1:30 this afternoon, and then kickoff coming up at 3:30.
Your boy's grubbing.
Oh, he's eating. He's hungry.
He's grubbing.
We got some chips.
He's
we
busy.
got a little French fries over there. Maybe a quesadilla. He's having a great time.
I love
man.
it.
He's just pounding some food, baby. I love it. Then we'll go take a big nap. Then we get ready for kickoff. All right, that's how we do it. That's how we do it on a game day Saturday.
Are you guys going to do this to me like 8 times every Saturday?
Every other segment. I'm going to just start holding up my food on the YouTube cam so you can see it, Rust. I apologize. One of these days we'll send a delivery van back to you and get some food going your way. I'm going to read some stats to you, Anthony, and then we'll start talking about it. Okay?
Yeah, let's go.
18th out of 18 teams in total defense. Okay.
Okay.
There are 18 teams in the Big Ten.
Yep.
18th total in passing defense out of 18 teams in the Big Ten.
Yes.
Let's take a look at rushing defense. 14th out of 18 in rushing defense.
Yes.
Okay, that's not very good, right? Should we go to scoring defense too and check that out? How about 15th out of 18 in scoring defense?
Yeah.
That is 14th, 15th, 18th, and 18th in 4 major defensive statistics. And that team I'm talking about is Rutgers. Defensively, this is a team that has really struggled to get stops. Even Iowa, who is as offensively challenged as anybody in the country, put near 40 on them when they went on the road. Now, some of that they scored a special teams touchdown and some other stuff. So, slightly misleading. But the point I'm trying to make is I didn't love what I saw from Oregon's offense last week.
That's
I
true.
thought times they just kind of, we talked about it earlier, got away from some stuff that they liked. Dante showed some of his youth, all of that. You cannot draw up a better defense to go play to bounce back and get your confidence back than this one. And I'm very curious to see what the game plan is going to be, because as I highlight, it's not like, hey, they're great against the run, but they can't stop the throw, or they're great against the pass, but they can't stop the run. They're not very good at any of it, and I'm curious to see how Oregon attacks them here today.
Okay, here's a coach talking to you right now.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that other team. I'm not worried about the stats.
Just worry about
exactly right. We have to take care of us. We got to do what we need to do, and it doesn't matter who we're playing against. Could be a good team, could be a bad team. Regardless, we need to execute, understand our responsibilities, and that didn't happen last week. I mean, it was a struggle in the running game. It was a struggle in the passing game. Dante Moore has to get better. So everybody, as an individual, look at yourself in the mirror and go, how do I help this team get better? I need to do this to help this team. If you do that, Rutgers won't have a chance, honestly, because they are a bad defense.
Yeah, they'll score a little bit on you. They'll move a little bit on you, but they should not be able to get consistent
They are really
stops.
bad defense. But if you're playing against a good defense, you still should have success because you know what you're doing. You can execute it. You got dudes.
Right.
And you're playing as one. Right now, it's about Oregon, and that's what Dan Lanning's telling those kids. It's about us. When you start looking at teams really bad, and you're going, you're not very good. This will be easy. Then you all of a sudden now you're going through practice, going, okay, you're not focusing, you're messing around, you're not taking it serious, and all of a sudden now the team bites back. You're like, whoa, what's going on here? What's happening? Now you're panicking a little bit.
Right.
No, it doesn't matter. You want to play at that high level all the time. So yes, Rutgers defense is. They're doo-doo.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll say that right. I'll say that right there. They're not very good.
Yeah.
And
They're
Oregon should beat
doo-doo
them
also.
by 2. Yeah, he's right. Oregon should beat them by 21. But at the same time, Oregon has to take care of themselves and understand, okay, they're up against themselves.
Yeah.
Not against Rutgers, against themselves.
It's the standard game today, man.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to put it, where it's about executing and getting your mojo back. And one thing I'd love to see, we'll get to our keys to the game here in a moment. Oregon's got such a big offensive line. They got such a size advantage up front. We talked about them going away from the run at times in the second half or in that game against Indiana when it was working well for them. I want to see him come out today, man, and just, you know what? Prove that you can stop it.
Yes.
Here it comes, up the middle. Here it comes, up the middle. Here it comes, up the middle. If you can't stop it, just over and over and over again. I want to see them impose their will physically on Rutgers today because they got the chance to do it. The breakdown brought to you by Victor Rico's. They break down your game day meals with catering and the ease of the Victor Rico's app. When you think of flavor, think of Victor Rico's. Let's reset things, and we'll come back with our keys to the game. We'll have some fun with audio in a little bit. We'll take a look at what's going on in the Big Ten. Tons still to come around the corner, including Andrew Nimick, Dan Lanning, and, of course, Mike Jorgensen and Joey Harrington. It's going to be a loaded next hour, and we're back after this on 105.1 FM The Fan.
Your home for Oregon Ducks football. KRSK Portland, KRSK FM HD1, Malala, Oregon, and Odyssey Sports Station.
It is 57 and sunny here in Portland. We're looking at a high of 62. Going to stay cloudy with a chance of precipitation increasing ever so slightly throughout the day. In Piscataway, it's 69 currently and sunny for the 6:30 local time kick, 63 degrees. Partly cloudy skies, 0 chance of precipitation, and almost no wind. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
Looking for an unforgettable escape? Discover
To the game. What will drive the Ducks to victory today?
Throws it downfield, and it was intercepted. It was picked. Down the right side, 5-3-2. Did he get there? No, not quite. Dante Manning with the interception.
Brought to you by Wilsonville Toyota. One person, one price. No bull.
All right, let's get into the keys of the game. We'll take a look at the Big Ten. Also have some fun with audio for you in a moment. That's right around the corner. As a quick score update, 6 minutes to go. It is game blouses, as Prince would say. Michigan up 21-7 on Washington. They just got stuffed trying to go for it on 4th down at about the 20-yard line, their own 20-yard line. And Michigan's just going to run it a bunch inside the 10-yard line, and unless they do something real stupid here, this game is over. 21-7, 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter in the Big House. Michigan with the lead. Anthony, when I throw out keys to the game today, you kind of touched on one. You can even expand on it if you want, but just that idea of it's you versus you this week. Like, play to your standard.
Yeah.
And I know that's something that coaches try and hammer home to their football programs of, and it was interesting. A couple of the players made comments, and I don't know how much of it was that. I don't want to take anything away from Indiana, because when you say stuff like this, people say, oh, you're not giving Indiana enough credit, right?
True.
But a handful of Duck players last week kind of had the sentiment in their press conferences of, we realize we can't just show up and win games.
That's right.
And I wonder how much of that, Nick Saban used to talk about rat poison all the time, where it's he hates when media tells his team they're great and they're going to win everything. And, you're coming off this win at Penn State, which I know doesn't seem as good as it was a couple of weeks ago. That still was an insane atmosphere, top 10 matchup. Everything that went into it, you win that huge high, that endorphin that you get. And then you probably had a sense of it's Indiana, it's at home, we're going to win this.
I know.
And I'm not saying they took them lightly. And again, I'm not trying to take away from Indiana, but back to the standard point of that's the first one I'll just throw out is just come out and play at your highest level. And if it's 49-0 at the end of the half, that's great. Play the backups the rest of the game, but play to your standard today.
Today you have to be dominant.
Yep.
And the keys here are the offensive line for Oregon and the defensive line for Oregon.
Yep.
Win in the trenches. You have to dominate the offensive line and defensive line. You have to, when you're running the football, you got to run it down their throat.
Yep.
And you keep doing it. Don't walk away from it. Keep doing it. They can't stop you. Okay, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Keep doing it. From the defensive standpoint, get to the quarterback. Stop the running game with the front four. You don't have to have blitz linebackers. You don't have to bring a safety or corner blitz. With the front four, get to the quarterback and dominate that offensive line of Rutgers. Then good things will happen to you.
Yes, if you do that, the game will be in hand.
Oh,
right?
no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll add, too, is just you just got to play a cleaner game. That's the only thing I want to see. I mean, you look back, Johnson has that drop, that kind of tight end slip on the play action.
Oh, yeah.
You get a first down inside the 10-yard line. Instead, you got to settle for a field goal, right?
Yeah.
We talked earlier about the missed field goal at the end of the half, and then you give them 3 points. Like, make a damn kick, right? That's a chip shot field goal. You got to make that kick. How many times was there a random penalty that held him, hey, here's a Dante Moore scramble. Oh, Poncho held.
Yeah.
Bring him back 10 yards, right? There's just a lot of little stuff that when you're in a tight ball game, it adds up. And the reason we circle it, even in a blowout game, is because when you play one of those tight games, that holding penalty or that drop pass or that missed kick could be the difference in winning or losing that game. And so cleaning a lot of that stuff up. And the other thing I'll add, too, is the turnovers, man. I know that one of them was kind of on a last, late drive where he throws a pick, whatever. But they had the ball 6 minutes to go down 27-20, and they throw a deflected pass. It's intercepted. You're like, all right, that's a horrible way to end a football game. But the interceptions bit them last week, and they had the pick six, but Indiana wins the turnover battle.
That's right.
It decides the game. And so that's the only other thing I'll add to keys. It's just offense, defensive line, to your point, be dominant the way they should, and then clean the crap up. Clean the little tiny mistakes that aren't huge. It's not massive, but they just add up throughout the course of the game.
It's the little details.
The little details they weren't very good at. Washington, by the way, they're going to lose either way, but they just roughed the kicker on a field goal for Michigan. They're running into, so they're going to accept the field goal. My apologies. 24-7 is your score. That game is over. Washington will likely lose to Michigan. 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. The keys to the game driven by Wilsonville Toyota, simplifying the buying process. One person, one price. No bull. WilsonvilleToyota.com. Let's take a look at the Big Ten. And hey, what about Nick Saban going to coach Penn State?
Oh,
hey, what do we think about that?
Oh,
could that happen? Could it? Let's check in with Miss Terry. We'll do that. Big Ten check-in coming up next. But first, here's Jeff Russ with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
It is 57 and sunny here in Portland, looking at a high of 62. Going to stay cloudy. Chance of precipitation increasing ever so slightly throughout the day in Piscataway. 69 and sunny for the 6:30 local time kick. 63 degrees, partly cloudy skies, 0 chance of precipitation, and almost no wind. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes.
Big matchups, big plays. It's time to take a look at the scoreboard around the Big Ten and the rest of college football. Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
Here in a couple of moments, what did he have to say to Isaac this week? Actually, it was a great interview for those who missed it. He didn't give a lot on the game and the matchup, but just kind of the state of college football, some behind-the-scenes stuff, travel, coaches getting fired. It was a really, how the idea of how do you keep your coordinators focused when you know that other teams might start calling for them, and how you kind of handle that internally.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. It was a great interview, so we'll hear from Dan Lanning coming up in a moment. I don't know if you know this, James Franklin got fired. 18 days ago, 21 days ago, whatever it was, he's top 5 team in the country, undefeated, and now he's out of a job.
If I was a player, I would be so angry.
Yeah.
Come on. That man came to my house, recruited me.
Yes.
He's everything to me, and you get rid of him.
Yep. And that's, the one thing that you cannot criticize, we can say, he could be top 5 team, could be a top 10 team, and, all that stuff is fair and valid. He is a genuinely good dude.
Yes,
like you listen to any.
is.
I remember the week of the Oregon-Penn State game, listening to his Monday press conference.
Yes.
And it was literally every reporter in the room. He knew their first name.
Yes, he did.
Hey, John, how you doing? Hey, Bill, how's it going today? He had that relationship with him. His stand-up class act. He was on Game Day this morning as well with a good interview.
Oh,
he
was
didn't
that
take
good?
any shots. Didn't he just said, hey, this is the world we live in. It's coaching. I was shocked. That it happened so quickly, and they were a play away from going to the title game last year.
I know.
And the Final Four.
What's the standard?
Now it's $50 million to not work anymore. Hey, I would like to notify any employers, if you want to pay me $50 million to not work anymore, I will gladly accept being firing. You'll never hear from me again.
I might take 50,000.
Yeah, I'll lower the offer. $50 million's too high. You got to start with a better opening negotiation, Russ. You can't start that low.
Really?
But this morning on Game Day, Penn State, you always throw out the craziest names you could think of. This happened. What about Nick Saban going to Penn State?
This has been
When you talk
Ducks
about
Game Day,
goats,
presented by
this guy's name has been mentioned a lot, and certainly on the internet because the amount of funds that Penn State has. Now, Coach, I don't want to hear it from you. Let's ask the boss, Miss Terry. Hey, Miss Terry, they offer $50 million a year. You guys going to coach at Happy Valley?
Look, Pat, I have no doubt if Nick wanted to go back to coaching, he could win his 8th national championship, but we're having too much fun, and we wouldn't want to take that opportunity away from all of our baby coaches like Kirby and Ray.
Yeah, you're right.
Too much fun. I haven't heard a number yet, Pat.
Hadn't heard the number yet. You never say never. $50 million. He's not going to do it. That was pretty funny. The names that they're going after, they think they can get Kalen DeBoer out of Alabama. Hey, maybe Urban Meyer will come out of retirement. You know, they're getting a little desperate. One of the coaches who was on probably the top of their list was Curt Cignetti.
Yeah.
And Curt Cignetti just signed a 8-year contract extension that's going to make him the 3rd highest paid coach in all of college football.
Nope.
So these agents around the country love when this stuff happens because then they can go to the other ADs and say, hey, keep your guy. It's going to cost you a little bit of money to keep your guy. So Curt Cignetti is now.
You have the leverage.
It is funny. A lot of people made the joke this week. If you play against Oregon, if you beat them, you will get a massive contract extension. And if you lose to them, you're going to get fired. Because Oregon has won 5 games this year. 3 of the 5 teams that they have beaten have gone on to fire their head coach. Oklahoma State fired Gundy 2 weeks later. Oregon State just fired Trent Bray last week, and then Penn State fired James Franklin.
That's not good.
And the only team that's beaten Oregon this year, his coach just got a $100 million contract extension. So
let's be fair. I think Oregon just beat Penn State 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I think there is something to that, man. Look, Penn State did not have the year. I wasn't as high on them in terms of like, a no doubt national championship pick. But I think that was such a demoralizing loss, and the fan reaction, and they were chanting "Fire Franklin" during the game. Sometimes that stuff can crater, man. If you don't have that strong culture and the work part. I remember Oregon doing that years ago. They had a game late in the season. They were undefeated. They went down to Stanford. 8-0, 9-0, whatever it was, and they lost. Stanford body bagged them and just ran it down their throat. It was one of those Mariota years. I think it was the year before they went back to the title under Helfrich. And they imploded. They went on to play Arizona the next week on the road, and they got killed by Arizona. They almost lost to a really bad Oregon State team in the Civil War. And so, all their eggs were in that basket. And then that was taken away from them, and then the motivation was gone. And so it happens sometimes in college football, man.
They're humans. They make mistakes.
Exactly. And they're kids,
other
especially,
teams
too.
get coached also. I mean, come on.
What? No, they don't. Come on. It's always funny, the reaction to it, man. Speaking of Indiana and a coach who could get fired, they're taking on Michigan State and Jonathan Smith today. That is a 12:30 kick. Jonathan Smith is one of the next names to watch who is probably going to get fired in the next couple of weeks. And Indiana, I feel like, can just name their score in that game. So we'll see how that plays out. That one is on the Peacock. Penn State is at Iowa. I don't think anybody cares about that one anymore. Also a Peacock game. The big one in the conference tonight, unquestionably, will be USC on the road at Notre Dame. USC pounded this Michigan team that we're watching right now take it to Washington in the Coliseum. But their problem under Lincoln Riley has been doing it on the road. Can they do it on the road?
Yeah.
And they play at Notre Dame later tonight in a 4:30 kick on NBC. There's a look around the Big Ten and what's going on in the conference. You're going to hear from Andrew Nimick coming up in a couple of moments. His recruiting report from what happened last week for some of the big names who were in town for that game. But coming up next, let's hear from the head coach of the Oregon Ducks, Dan Lanning. He joins Isaac and Suk every Thursday. What did he say about the loss, the matchup, and the state of college football? You hear from the head coach of the Oregon Ducks next. 105.1 FM The Fan.
There are only
Touchdown, Oregon.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, Rutgers, have you crossed paths with Greg Schiano before?
You know, I was a GA at Pitt. We played at Rutgers and we lost. They were a really good team. That was right before he became the head coach of the Buccaneers. He's a great coach. You know, he's had a lot of success. He's always – you look at any phase of the ball, you watch this team, you say, man, they're aggressive. They're aggressive in the way they play defense. They're aggressive in the shots they take on offense. Special teams, they're going to try to block every single kick. You know, it really doesn't matter what play of the game it is. They're really aggressive. So somebody I have a lot of respect for. He's been able to do it at a really high level in this game for a long time, and he's obviously done a good job there.
What are a few elements maybe you've prioritized to clean up after the Indiana game that you've keyed on this week?
Yeah, overall recognition, you know, like we have to do a better job from a protection standpoint. We have to continue to establish the run throughout the game. You know, we had success at times. You know, in a game, you look at it, it's 20-20 in the fourth quarter, and you got to be able to close out those moments in the fourth quarter. Defensively, you know, when bend but don't break is unique, right? You got to be able to stop the run when it matters most. We didn't do a good job of that. Sometimes you're throwing in some situations that aren't advantageous, partially because your head coach is aggressive and he wants to call, you know, go for it on fourth down. You got to be able to go get stops in those moments. You know, so there's a lot of pieces that we have that we can learn from that game.
All right, well, good luck, safe travels, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you guys.
Yep, we'll see you. It's Dan Lanning right there, Coach Lanning.
Dan Lanning's appearances on Primetime every Thursday at 4 o'clock, brought to you by Phil Brook Law. Other lawyers fight for clicks. Phil Brook Law fights for wins. Phil Brook Law, accident and injury lawyers, your local law team.
At Wilsonville Toyota, everyone gets their lowest price every time with no bull. This month only, take advantage of extra savings. If you've purchased, leased, or serviced a vehicle at Wilsonville Toyota, you'll receive a $500 loyalty reward added to the value of your vehicle trade-in appraisal. Plus, Wilsonville Toyota has some amazing service specials to get your vehicle ready for the winter months. When you purchase 3 tires, get the 4th one for just $1, or get $25 off per axle on a brake service. These offers end October 31st. Some restrictions apply. Go to WilsonvilleToyota.com to schedule your service.
Coors Light presents To Chill or Not to Chill. When your friend skips your favorite song on the playlist. End of friendship. Or choose chill because that song lives rent-free in your head anyway. And you planned ahead by bringing Coors Light to the party. And the sound of that ice-cold can cracking open was music to your ears already. Coors Light. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. 2024 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30% upfront bonus? Or are they promising you up to 10% growth per year, all for your retirement income? If not, then you need to come to Trajan Wealth. I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. If you have a plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hardworking folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They're not. That's up to $30,000 upfront or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't keep working when you're supposed to be retired, and don't let any financial advisor tell you it's too good to be true. Call Trajan today.
Report with Andrew Nimick. Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, let's talk some recruiting with our recruiting insider, Andrew Nimick. Quick note, couple of finals. Michigan-Washington has gone final, 24-7 there. Washington falls in Ann Arbor. And Diego Pavia, like him, love him, hate him, doesn't matter. He scored a touchdown and hit the Heisman pose, and they just beat LSU at home. 31-24, massive win for Vanderbilt. There's a couple scores, some big games about to kick off. We'll let you know how those are going over the next hour. Let's talk with Andrew Nimick, at Andrew Nimick on Twitter. Go give him a follow. He's our recruiting insider, and you can check out his West Coast Bias podcast that he does with Souk and talking all things West Coast college football and NFL. Nimick, good morning to you. We talked last week about the kind of visitor list and the guys that were in town. Any takeaways negatively because of the loss? What's been the reaction over the last handful of days?
No, I mean, it happens, man. I mean, you're going to have games like that. I think we've talked about it before with the Penn State game. You asked, how much does it change things? And I said, it can be that thing that for a Kayvon Thibodeau type guy that really kind of opens his eyes when he's thinking, Oregon's in my top 5, I'm not sure where. And then he visits for that Washington game where C.J. Verdell scores. I think it was in overtime. And everybody just got excited. He said, that was my best visit. I think the opposite 5% is true if they don't have a great visit. Like, they kind of lost and got exposed physically a little bit. That's not great, but they're already visiting. They're already interested in the coaching staff, and I really don't think that matters a ton. I thought you were going to lead off with a different question, mentioning Diego Pavia and me being doing the scouting thing. It turns out his mom's name is Antoinette. I know you were looking for that. Diego Pavia's mom's name is Antoinette.
Thank you, Nimick. I appreciate that inside report. I definitely just saw that. It's on the TV in front of us right here at Grand Central Bowl. And, there's a lot going on there.
She's on Instagram.
Check it out. Yeah, I don't need to screw up my algorithm any more than it's already screwed up. So I might try to avoid that bad boy. I don't think nobody needs to look at my search tab history. Let's get to. I wanted to ask you, Nimick, because you follow this stuff closely and you have takes on guys when they come to town. Anthony and I were talking earlier. Brandon Finney is. We're having a hard time finding a freshman who's had that level of impact. Like, not the freshman corners haven't played, and Graham and Lenore and, Ife. Like, a handful of guys have played at that age. I don't ever remember somebody having that level of impact. What was the thought when he committed? I know it was a tight battle down the stretch with Oregon and Penn State. And I have to imagine, even if the expectations were high, that he's even exceeded those.
Yeah, he was a weird one to me, and you can go back and find on the recruiting show. He was the one I highlighted, him and DeCorian Moore. And I just said, I don't think people realize how big a deal this is. This dude is amazing. He's off the charts good. There's not a false step in anything he does. He's physical. He's big. And I know he's not a 5-star, but I'm having a hard time figuring out why he's not. I asked a couple of coaches who coach DBs and said, can you watch this? Am I crazy? Is this – he looks like a top 10 kid in the country to me. And they were like, no, he's a 5-star. And sometimes people miss that the recruiting rankings, you can do well, but if the regional guy for a company, they're a company, and if your regional guy specializes in offensive linemen and you're not in a traditional area where, an NFL level scout is there, they might not understand how good a DB is. That stuff happens. If a guy misses a big camp where, a really good evaluator's there, he might kind of slip through the cracks. And I said, this is in Penn State's own backyard. He was Penn State's #1 guy on their board. Michigan really wanted him. He's unbelievable. And I did a whole segment about how much it meant to get a guy like Brandon Finney and said, I get where he's at in the rankings. I'm telling you, this is a big deal. Penn State wanted this kid. He's unbelievable. And I think he's going to hit the ground running. So I think it was one of those things that if you knew, you knew. But I'm not sure how many people really understood just how truly special he was. And sure enough, he's been great. Dier Hill was really the other one. You watched him on film.
Yeah.
Like, he knows he knows when to put his head down. He knows when to bounce it outside. And he was another one that just I never fully understood why he was ranked where he was, because I thought he was a top 50 kid in America.
Yeah, those guys, they've been turning head. Davidson and what he did and has done all year, but then last week kind of becoming that main back. It's a testament to their ability to scout. And Finney, he's got to be feeling great about his decision, Oregon over Penn State, after the last handful of weeks and what's happened at the other school that he was considering no longer having a head coach. Anything else that we should be keeping an eye on? They're all the way out in Rutgers, out in New Jersey today. I don't know if there's any recruiting implications there. I know basketball's been hot on the trail. Anything else that's kind of high on your list right now?
I think Oregon women's basketball is closing in on a couple of commitments. They're looking to shore some things up. They had a couple of years there where they kind of went more the transfer route / international route. I think there's some good things there. I'd still keep an eye on Tyron Stokes, the #1 kid in the country, who visited Oregon a couple weeks ago. That's going to be a dogfight to the end. He is a Nike athlete. That gives Oregon some boost because his top 5 consisted of 3 Nike schools and 2 others. And now we have to do the pretend game that the 2 schools that aren't Nike are still in it when the kid's a Nike athlete, so it's going to be one of the 3 Nike programs. So I'd keep an eye on that. And Oregon's still looking to finish with a couple of key pieces, but they largely have this class together, and it's a small group, which tells me they're going to hit the portal again and get 5 or 6 or 7 really high-impact transfers. And it is what a Dan Lanning class is. It's the number 1 in the country in terms of rating per commit. They're going to have a couple of freshmen again who can hit the ground running, and then they'll add those transfers. And all in all, it will be a top 3 level of incoming talent when you combine transfers and traditional recruits. It could climb as high as 1. I think they probably finished 2 or 3 this year, and that's damn good. Again, Grass Damn Green in Eugene.
Yeah, it's a formula that's working for him. No need to go away from it right now. The freshmen have had massive impacts this year, and we'll see how they can close on the recruiting trail. Andrew Nimick, check out his podcast, the West Coast Bias podcast. He does every week with Suk. Give him a follow on Twitter at Andrew Nimick, and he's on our airwaves every Thursday night doing the recruiting show with Andrew Nimick. Thanks as always for the time, buddy. Enjoy the football today, and we'll catch up again next weekend.
Yeah, you just threw me with that first question. I'm sorry. I tried. I thought I was prepared for the right thing, and just I went a little sideways on you.
I love it. Sometimes somebody's got to do it. Andrew Nimick with the recruiting report on what's happening for Oregon. And, the freshman impact guys, man, they have been outstanding. We talked about Finney earlier, Davidson, the impact, De'Aaron Hill, DeCorian Moore, up and down the list. It's just, a lot of guys that aren't just playing depth minutes and, hey, I'm on special teams, I'm running down on kickoff. You're talking about meaningful snaps that guys are playing.
But the recruiting, you're getting kids all over the country that, Alabama's, the Penn States, the Notre Dames. You couldn't get kids from those schools. Are you kidding me?
Lanning's talked about it, how the Big Ten has really helped their footprint of being able to tell guys. Brandon Finney's a Maryland kid.
Yes, exactly.
And saying, hey,
right.
man, you're coming out to Eugene, but you're not just playing Oregon, California, Arizona, Washington
We're
schools.
coming back to play.
We'll go play in New Jersey.
Hometown.
We'll go play in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
We'll eventually go play in Maryland, right? You're
Yes.
going to get those chances to have those trips down the road. And so, I think it's helped them a ton in terms of recruiting, and it is paying off the way they're playing right now. Those guys have had big impacts early on in the season. We got a lot still to get to. You're going to hear from Joey Harrington coming up in a little bit. What else we got? Mike Jorgensen right around the corner. We got our lock of the week, guys. Have you guys figured out who we're gambling on yet? You pick a line out yet for lock of the week?
I'm waiting on you.
Hey, come on, Anthony.
No. You said we.
Come on,
So
we're in this to get. We got to find. We got to put our heads together.
I want to see what you're going to do.
Got to find a line out there. Georgia and Ole Miss about to kick off. We'll reset with some score updates coming around the other end, and then we'll reset. Oregon and Rutgers coming up 12:30. My clock's all off at 3:30.
Are you
right
okay
here on the home of the Oregon Ducks? 105.1 from the Fan. There's a lot going on, man. I got games happening. I'm worried about my lock. I'm doing interviews. I got a margarita in front of me. What do you want from me, Jeff Russ? I'm overwhelmed right now.
Well, what I want a buffalo chicken slider too. That's what I want.
I got 2 more bites. That's the one I'm focused on right now. You better make this weather report long, Russ. I want to finish my sandwich, damn it.
All right, here we go.
Back after this. First, here's Jeff Russ with weather.
All right, it is 58 and sunny here in Portland. We're looking at a high of 62. Going to stay cloudy. A chance of precipitation increasing ever so slightly throughout the day. In Piscataway, though, 70, sunny. For the 6:30 local time kick, 63 degrees, partly cloudy skies, 0 chance of precipitation, and almost no wind. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic. Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes. You think I could do this like Ron Burgundy?
Time for the second half. Live from Grand Central Bowl and Arcade, Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day. Coors Light, choose chill, celebrate responsibly.
Today, we talk with our pads. Dante wants to step, got to get a run right, stop and throw deep. Got him wide open. Benson, touchdown Oregon! Malik Benson.
We're getting you ready for today's game between the Oregon Ducks and the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Oregon Ducks football on the Fan is brought to you by Coors Light, Dick Hanna Dealerships, Philbrook Law, Zoom Care, Bellagio's Pizza, Langdon Farms Golf Club, Wilsonville Toyota, Mountaintop Metal Roofing, Victor Rico's Mexican Food, Legends Casino Hotel, Mods PDX, and Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop.
Touchdown Oregon!
Now here's your hosts, Andy Johnson and Oregon Hall of Famer Anthony Newman on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, welcome back in live at a Grand Central Bowl arcade and sports bar. I can't even begin to count the number of TVs they got in this place, man.
A ton.
I got there's like 30 right over the bar in front of me. They got the bowling alleys over there.
Oh, this is a great place.
It's a very cool place. People hanging out. Got some Duck fans showing up. Getting closer to kickoff between Oregon and Rutgers live out here at Grand Central Bowl Arcade and Sports Bar. Stop by the big alumni watch party coming up later on this afternoon for the game. But they got people here. They got brunch specials going on. They got Coors Light Tall Boys on special, Duck Ritas. And I got one going right now on the Hot Valley Dane Green IPA. So we're having a blast out here at Grand Central, and hopefully you can stop by. We'll be on the air for another hour before we send you out to Piscataway and get closer to kickoff. Let's get back into this matchup a little bit, Anthony, and that is from an angle of the quarterback, man. Dante Moore, so much attention is on him.
Yeah.
So much focus is on him. And clearly last week it was a defensive game plan that just befuddled him a little bit, right?
Yeah,
it just kind of wasn't quite sure what was happening and where guys are coming from and all that. And I'll be curious just to see what, we talked about earlier what the game plan could look like offensively, because there's not a lot of strengths for Rutgers defense. They don't do a lot of stuff well.
Right.
And so is it just coming out, let's just run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball? Is it let's get Dante going, let's get his confidence, give him some easy throws, some screens maybe early, kind of get him into the game? I'll be curious to see how so one of the first times in an Oregon uniform that he's looked kind of vulnerable, if you will, right? He was so good and so clutch on the road at Penn State, and see how he bounced back today.
I think the supporting cast is going to help Dante Moore.
Yeah.
The offensive line give him time. The running backs, running hard, and the receivers separating from the defensive backs.
Yeah.
If you get that, then it's easy for Dante Moore. And then also he's a playmaker, so he's going to make some plays by himself and do some things. When he has help, when you got that supporting cast, you can take the pressure off yourself a little bit and just go play football. You have to remember it's a game, and you understand that these kids have a lot of pressure. And they got to do that. They have to do this. They have to do that. But it's just a game. Go out there and have fun.
Yeah.
We call it the NFL, the National Fun League. Go out there and have a good time. You're playing the game that you love, that you've been playing forever.
Yeah.
And then that's how you flow, and that's how you play better, and that's how you win games. But the supporting cast need to support him. They really do, because he will do his thing. But when people start struggling, and now everybody's looking at the quarterbacks, you always look at the quarterback.
It's always how it works.
Good or bad, they're looking at the quarterback. But he's a dude, and he will bounce back.
Yeah. I just, he used his legs a lot at Penn State, didn't do that as much.
No, he didn't.
Design stuff against Indiana. So that's another way you can get a quarterback going. But I'm with you. You get the help from your guys. Get him the ball. Throw a screen to Decorian Moore and let him take it 30 yards, and all of a sudden, that was easy. That was fun.
You threw the ball 5 yards, but the guy went 60.
Exactly. Those are fun throws, man. Now I'm having fun again.
Really?
So, we talked about earlier kind of using that tempo maybe, and that's a way to kind of stop thinking and you're not worried about, this or that. You're just, all right, I got the play. We got to go run it. Let's go and kind of get that tempo going. So there's a lot of different ways that Oregon can attack Rutgers defense today.
Get the ball to Sadiq.
Get the ball to number 18. How about that?
Get the ball to Sadiq.
Number one key to the game. We forgot that in keys of the game. 18. Get the ball to 18. Early, often, every play. I don't care, man.
Yes.
Throw him the damn rock. And so Oregon looking for a bounce-back spot. Dante Moore as well looking for a bounce-back spot. Who's in and who's out? What do we know about the injury report? There's been some good news on a couple of guys who might be making an impact later on in the season. So we'll dive into that coming up next. We're live at a Grand Central Bowl Arcade and Sports Bar having a great time for another hour, and we'll get to the injury report coming up next on 105.1 FM The Fan.
Bellagio's Pizza.
It is 58, sunny here in Portland. We're looking at a high of 62. Going to stay cloudy. A chance of precipitation increasing ever so slightly throughout the day. In Piscataway, though, 70, sunny for the 6:30 local time kick. 63 degrees, partly cloudy skies, 0 chance of precipitation, and almost no wind. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
Who's in, who's out? This is the Injury Report, brought to you by Zoom Care, with clinics near you. Zoom Care offers same-day appointments when you need them, even on evenings and weekends. Insurance accepted, including Medicare. ZoomCare.com.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about injuries.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, welcome back in live Oregon Ducks pregame show. Having a blast. Grand Central Bowl Arcade Sports Bar, and TV's up everywhere. Games going on. We got scores. Keep you up to date on all that coming up in a few moments. Some big games about to kick off in the 12:30 window around college football. The biggest one is down in the SEC, Georgia and Ole Miss. A top 10 showdown down there as the Bulldogs are getting ready to take the field. We'll let you know what's been going on in the sport so far today. Let's take a look at the injury report. And, Anthony, honestly, it's pretty good news out there right now.
Oh, yeah.
You never know who's going to play and who's not going to play because Oregon won't tell you about injuries. But a couple of things just to keep an eye on. One of the guys that missed the game last week that Oregon desperately could have used because I think he's had a really good year this year is Dalen Austin.
Yes.
He got banged up against Penn State, took an awkward fall. They were hoping he was going to be able to play. He went through warm-ups before the game and then ultimately did not play. So he was out. So they're hoping there's a chance that he's back today because he's been a really impactful guy in the slot for Oregon this year.
Yes.
And then some of the other guys who were kind of long-term injuries, Trey McNutt. We talk a lot about this recruiting class. Trey McNutt's one of those blue-chip five-star safeties. He broke his leg in August.
Yes.
And for the first time, he's been out every game, so he's not going to play this week. But for the first time last week, he was in sweat, stretching with guys before the game down on the field. And so there's that next step of, okay, that'd be great, getting another piece in the secondary for the back half of the year. And they have continued to reiterate that there's a really good chance that Evan Stewart is back at some point in the back half of the year. Now, Lanning's not putting a timeline on it. Oh, he'll be back by week 10 or week 9 or November this or whatever. But he is saying he's ahead of schedule, and they're hoping to get him back. Evan Stewart had some stuff on social media in the last week or two indicating that he will return. And so that's another one, man. If you get that kind of weapon back in the back half of your season with all this youth that you got, and you're would be really good.
And they're fresh. They're healthy.
And he's fresh and healthy and ready to go.
Yeah.
For a stretch run, too, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the news. The only other one that's notable is Kyle Casper, who I just, unfortunately for that kid, man, I feel like has become every year. He is done. He had a foot injury, had surgery, and he's done for the rest of the year. It's been kind of 3 straight years. I feel like, hey, Casper might be a guy. And then you look up halfway through the year and he's out, and you feel terrible for the kid because he just can't stay healthy. So there's some injury reports for you on Oregon. Chance to get healthier going into today's game. But we talk about Rutgers' ability to throw the ball down the field. Getting Dalen Austin back would be huge for them in the slot and in that secondary. We'll see if he's available and ready to play. Today, the injury report brought to you by Zoom Care. More than 20 neighborhood clinics in Oregon and Southwest Washington. Zoom Care offers convenient access to same-day urgent and emergency care, plus an expanded primary care team currently accepting new patients. Schedule or learn more at ZoomCare.com. There's your injury report. Let's get to the long-awaited, award-winning Lock of the Week. We got our game, guys. We've identified the game.
You keep saying we.
We got the game, baby. You know what I'm feeling today? I'm feeling winner today. I'm feeling good today. Let's go. Lock of the Week next. 105.1 FM The Fan.
At Dick Hanna, we know that
the lock of the week.
And here's the handoff. Whittington 10, 5, touchdown, no Whittington.
Where our hosts share their picks of the week. Brought to you by Legends Casino Hotel in Toppenish, Washington. Within winning distance. Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, welcome back in. Georgia Ole Miss just kicked off. SEC Big Top 10 showdown going on there. Nothing. Kickoff underway in Athens. We'll keep you up to date on what's going on in that one. We'll give you some score updates from around the country coming up in a moment. Some finals from last night and this morning that are noteworthy. That'll bring a smile to the faces of Oregon fans as a former head coach lost and a big rival lost today. And whenever that happens, makes you feel good. Let's get to the lock of the week. Gentlemen, are we ready?
Okay.
Are we ready?
Wait, real quick.
We feel good.
Real quick. Okay, real quick.
Yeah, what do you got?
Now, you were 3-0, right?
3-0. We're feeling great.
I might be missing something.
We're 3-0.
Did you ever call me prior to the lock of the week and ask?
I need to start.
Ask me about the
How
picks.
you feel about this
so,
one?
so right now you're struggling, but you're saying we.
I'm out on an island right now. I'm a corner on an island. Somebody needs some help over the top.
Somehow you pulled me on your train.
Yeah, I need some safety help over the top
I'm
here.
about
Okay?
to jump off.
I'm getting burned out here. All right.
Hey, I'm jumping off.
Let's go cover 2, man. I can't. Come on, give me some help.
Okay, let me see what you got.
All right, here's how we're feeling. Here's how we're feeling today.
Okay.
I gotta be honest with you. There's no confidence left. All the confidence is gone down. We're just taking shots in the dark at this point. Okay,
just guessing.
We're blindfolded. We're throwing darts at a board. Will it hit? We'll find out later tonight. I'm going to 5 o'clock tonight for a rivalry game. Utah BYU.
Oh,
call it the Holy War. It's a big one.
Yeah, it is.
Holy War is a big deal. Now, I've had a chance to watch both these teams play. BYU is 6-0. They're undefeated. They're ranked 15th in the country. A lot of, hey, you're 6-0. That's great. But how the hell did you win that game?
Yeah.
Just keep doing that. Kind of every week. Like, wait, you're down by 10 in the fourth. Then you come back. You find a way. They got a true freshman quarterback. Now, the game is at home. It is in Provo. So that's going to help them a ton. That's a tough place to go play.
Yeah.
I just got a lot of credit and respect for the team on the other side. The only blemish that they have on their resume is their game against Texas Tech earlier this year. And I think Texas Tech has shown to be the class of the Big 12, and they're going to run away with that conference championship.
Yeah.
I think Utah's got the better quarterback. I think they got a better line of scrimmage play and a slight advantage in coaching staff and the line of sub a touchdown. So I'm going to take Utah on the road tonight in the Holy War -4.5. They got to win by 5. Utes got to win by 5 at BYU.
I'm a big Utah fan.
You're a big Utah guy?
Yes, I am.
So we like it? Are we on the same page here, buddy?
Yes. Yeah, but I'm not on your train.
No, you ain't on the train. I know. But you're watching the train from the side of the station as I'm careening off the tracks. Is that what you're doing?
Exactly. But I like the pick.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it.
I got to start scheduling. We got to get some conference calls on the books between us for Wednesdays. I'll call you up. Kind of go over the lines. How we feeling?
No, I'll stay off. I'm not going to answer. Okay. You're on your own. You're right. You got
Utah,
it. You got this.
Here's what we got to do, Utah. Not let me down tonight, okay? Let's go win the game by 5. Let's take care of business. Lock of the week brought to you by Legends Casino Hotel in Toppenish. Legends Casino Hotel within winning distance online. LegendsCasino.com. Let's take a quick look at what's going on around the sport. As I mentioned, Ole Miss, Georgia underway. Georgia's driving on their opening drive. What about the other 12:30 games and some finals from last night and earlier? We'll give you some score updates from around the country. That is coming up next. Ducks pregame show on 105.1 FM The Fan.
Portland, get ready
From Grand Central Bowl and Arcade, Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day. Coors Light, choose chill. Celebrate responsibly on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
Well, going into the weekend, there were only 8 undefeated Power 4 teams left in the country. Only 8. And after last night, that list is down to 7. For those who were not, sitting around watching college football, maybe you're watching the Mariner game and their comeback win in the ALCS to go to Toronto with a 3-2 series lead. One of those teams fell, and that was Miami. They hosted Louisville last night. And I'll tell you, I think one of the more underrated coaches in the country, and this has been the case for a while, is Jeff Brom. He is now the head coach at Louisville. He did that when he was at Purdue. He was at Purdue for a long time, and he left because Louisville is his alma mater. Purdue was known as one of those teams in the Big Ten, like, oh, you don't want to go in there and play.
That's right.
They didn't have the same resources. They didn't do it week in and week out, but he could game plan around you and find a way to pull off an upset. And they did it. They jumped out to a 14-0 lead in the first quarter on Miami. Defense got stops when they needed to. Carson Beck, who has had a very good year as a Hurricane, he threw 4 picks last night, man. 4 picks.
Struggled.
2 or 3 of them are just, sometimes you get those stats and you're like, was it that bad? Was it a tip ball? Not every pick is created equally.
Yeah.
There was some bad ones in that game last night, man. And so, look, it's not an eliminator for Miami. It's a long ways to go. But it's just the theme of them losing games to an unranked opponent is always what he would do at Oregon.
That's right.
You beat Ohio State a couple weeks later, you lose to Stanford.
Yep.
Like, wait, what?
Yep.
And that's been his problem at Miami, and it's continued of just getting his team ready to go every week. And they were a big favorite in the game, and Louisville came in and knocked him off. And so we'll wait and see how far Miami is going to fall.
Where was that? In Miami?
It was in Miami.
Oh,
it was at home against Louisville. You can't lose that game.
No, you can't.
Number 2 team in the country.
No.
And it's also it highlighted, too, the problem that they have playing in an NFL stadium where just the atmosphere, unless it's a big game, it sucks, man. That thing was like 40% full. There's empty seats everywhere. Friday night game. Unranked Louisville's in town, and so not a lot of juice, and his team played like it. So they are no longer unbeaten. In Washington, I'd be curious to ask you this. Let's do an early scouting report because we know how big that game will be at the end of the year. And Oregon trying to rack up some wins in a row against the Huskies and the big rivalry. They lost again. Now, they played 2 big boys so far this year, Ohio State and Michigan, and in those 2 games, they have scored single-digit points. They had a touchdown at the end of the first half, and outside of that, nothing. They were held to a total. Now, some of this is sack yardage, so slightly misleading, but not really. 23 carries as a team for 40 yards. Damon Williams did not have a scramble longer than 6 yards, and he threw 3 interceptions in this game, 20 of 32, 209 yards, 3 picks, and they're a team that at times shows flashes when he's running around making plays, and I'm like, damn, he's one of the best players in the country.
I know.
And then you see him against a team like this that can kind of hem him into the pocket and limit him a little bit, and you say, oh, that didn't look good at all.
That team is so up and down.
So up and down, man.
Very inconsistent.
So up and down.
Yes.
Kind of been the case all year for them. But a bit of a blueprint now in their games against Ohio State and Michigan of how to slow them down. Because last week, Damon Williams they played this Rutgers team. He became the first player in college football in the last 10 years to have 400 passing yards and 135 rushing yards in the same game. He had 540 yards of offense by himself against Rutgers. He was insane in that game. And then you take him on the road against Michigan, and you're just, it did not look good at all.
A different defense.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Right?
I'd say so. And Michigan, by the way, was without some offensive linemen, and their star running back did not play in the game.
Yeah.
And they still ran the ball for 187 yards at 5 yards to carry on Washington's defense. That is a 187 to 40-yard difference in rushing yards per team. And so Washington is taking their second loss. Look, you never want to laugh and talk trash until you see your team play because, for all we know, Oregon loses today at Rutgers, and I feel like an idiot. Good way to start the weekend. Seeing Mario lose and seeing the Huskies
lose,
that, huh? That's a good way to start the weekend, man.
Now the Ducks need to finish it off, right?
Now we just got to go take care of it.
Finish it off.
Can't make fun of them yet because we haven't taken care of our win yet, but when we get there, we'll do it.
Exactly.
So Washington and Miami down. A couple of scores from around the country going on. Ole Miss and Georgia just kicked off. Georgia kicked a field goal on their opening drive, so they are up 3-0 in that one. One of the bigger surprises for me, honestly, Oklahoma just smoking South Carolina on the road. I did not see that.
That's a scary team. I'm going to tell you right now. That's a scary team.
They played Texas in the Red River rivalry or shootout or whatever we're calling it these days, and they couldn't do anything on offense. And
the Red River rivalry?
Red River rivalry.
Yes,
That's a tough one. A lot of W's instead of R's there. But Oklahoma looked really good, 26-7 right now. That game is basically over in the fourth quarter. Some finals from earlier. Let me scroll down a little bit on my old tabs page. Georgia Tech remains undefeated. They won 27-18 on the road at Duke. And Vanderbilt, man, what a moment for them. Massive game, top 20 showdown. LSU in town. They took care of business. They beat LSU. And now, mark my words, the next guy, because this is the state we're going to be in the next couple weeks, A lot of these big-name coaches are going to be on the hot seat. Brian Kelly, come on down at LSU.
There you go.
Any day.
Yep.
Yep.
That's Brian Kelly for you. And they can't win the quote-unquote big one. And, hey, why haven't we got to a playoff? And our defense is good, but our offense isn't good. What's going on there? So just circle LSU. Is that a job that comes open down the stretch? Maybe. Wouldn't surprise me in the least. So there's some looks around the country and what's going on in college football. We'll keep you up to date on some final scores here over the next 30 minutes. Let's hear from Joey Harrington. He joins Isaac and Suka every Friday. What did he have to say about the loss last week and the game this weekend? Joey Harrington, the former quarterback of the Ducks. He is next. 105.1 FM, The Fan.
If you're considering new professionals have the expertise and experience to make your vision a reality. Visit us today at modspdx.com.
Isaac.
It is 60 and sunny here in Portland. Looking at a high of 62. Going to stay cloudy with a chance of precipitation increasing throughout the day. In Piscataway, though, 70 and sunny for the 6:30 local time kick. 63 degrees, partly cloudy skies, 0 chance of precipitation, and almost no wind. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
Your home for the Oregon Ducks in Portland. KRSK Portland, KRSK FM HD1, Malala, Oregon, and Odyssey Sports Station. Let's preview the game with a Ducks legend.
Wait for it. Daring.
Captain Comeback, Joey Harrington, from his weekly visit every Friday on Primetime.
I would call myself somebody who's been around for a long time and wants to tell some nice stories.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Touchdown, Oregon.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
We're going to talk Oregon, Indiana here, okay? Because the people want to know.
Okay.
What the hell were they doing so well to confuse Oregon and Dante Moore?
I don't know.
Nice.
You're welcome.
Well, that's Joey Harrington, everybody. I hope you guys have a
Thank
great
you.
week.
Thank you very much.
Well, I mean, were you shocked?
I was surprised based on our conversation. I didn't think they would be able to hold up, right? I thought they would put up a fight, and then I thought at the end that, Oregon, for the reasons that we talked about, bigger guys in the trenches, more home field advantage. I mean, all the things we talked about last week, I thought Oregon would pull away. I'm not really sure how do I put this? We got beat. Like, there's no, hey, Oregon lost this game, or, we screwed it up. We just got beat, right? And sometimes you get punched in the mouth, and that happens.
it's an interesting feeling because, one, I'm not worried about it, and two, it really doesn't have a tremendous impact on the season, which is an odd feeling, right? We're so programmed to think like, oh my God, we lost the game, the world is collapsing. Like, what? We have to fix it now, or else, the season is all lost. But that's not the case. I actually don't mind the fact that we lost, right? If we're comparing it to last year where we came in, riding high and nobody could touch us, and then we got punched in the mouth in the first round, and oops, there you go. Like, this is an opportunity to change the things that they did wrong, to try and correct the mistakes. And to be perfectly honest, I was watching the game. I wasn't studying the game to know what it was that Indiana specifically did. All I can say, it was just like as a fan watching the game, it just had the feeling of like, hey, we got beat, and there's no two ways around that.
Well, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Joey.
Hey, buddy.
All right, Mods PDX, the future of building is here. Joey Harrington each Friday at 5:30.
Attention! Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify.
From Grand Central Bowl and Arcade, Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day. Coors Light, choose chill. Celebrate responsibly on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, we're back out here at Grand Central Bowl Arcade and Sports Bar. A lot of football games going on. The crowd's starting to pile in a little bit. Big watch party coming up, alumni watch party for the Oregon-Rutgers game and every Oregon road game. This is your place to be. Nothing makes you be more nervous than watching a team. I got no rooting interest in the game. When you fumble the zone read exchange, I'm pulling it, I'm keeping it. Ole Miss just got away with one inside the 10-yard line. They're trying to score against Georgia, and they fumbled the exchange. But the quarterback fell on it, so they got a 3rd and goal coming up. We'll keep you up to date on that score in a moment. On the offensive side, Anthony, we talked a lot about Dante and what he's got to clean up. And, hey, let's run the football a little bit more, and let's get Kenyon Sadiq the ball. Like, a lot of different angles there. Yeah. One of the things that, I'm curious to see what kind of impact they can have on the game. It was a relatively quiet day for Oregon's wide receivers last week. When you go back and look, DeCorian Moore had one noteworthy catch that I can remember. Yeah. Benson obviously had the touchdown. Outside of that, I don't know if he had a single catch. They seem to be at times not on the same page with Dante Moore on where they were supposed to be. And, some of those, like, I'm sitting down here in a zone and Dante thought you were going to be there, and just not 100% on the same page. And so how those Oregon wide receivers can attack this Rutgers secondary, which is giving up a ton of passing yards. Excited to see how they face that challenge today.
Remember back at I think the early games, everybody was watching Dante throw the ball, and he was right on target. Yeah. I mean, it looked really good. Oregon has a lot of receivers. And when you game plan against Oregon's offense, there's not one receiver that you say, hey, we got to take this guy away, because the ball is spread all over the field. So it's nice to have, a guy like Malik Benson. He can get behind the defense. Mm-hmm. That kid is fast. And then Moore is just, do you play man? Do you play zone against this football team? Yeah. Number one thing, you got to try to stop the run. But on the back end, do you bring your safeties in the box? And all of a sudden now you're creating a lot of one-on-one matchups with the corners and safeties. And then let's not talk, we always forget about, we don't forget about it, but I think they forgot about him last week, Sadiq.
Yeah.
Kenyon Sadiq. I mean, the best tight end in the country.
Will Stein forgot about him, not the fans or broadcasters. The offensive coordinator did. Get him the ball.
Get him the ball. So there's so many weapons. I think you really need to take, advantage of that. And it doesn't have to be the ball down the field. It's the hitches, the tunnel screens, whatever you need to do, get the ball out right away. Let those guys run and do all the work because they are some dudes. They can play.
Yeah, they got a great room right now, and you might get Evan Stewart back in the back half of the year, which would make it even better if you get that right in November. And so I'm with you. And I think the other thing, too, is if you complete a lot of those short throws again or you're running the ball efficiently, the other thing that you might start to see a little bit more of, it's always hard to react to the, where is the downfield passing attack gone, because I'm not sitting there watching all 22. So how deep are the safeties on every play?
Right.
Maybe those looks just aren't there, and that's why they're not throwing the ball down the field at that level, because that was something they were humming on early in the season. You go back to that Oklahoma State game, it felt like shot after shot after shot, and you're pushing the ball down the field. Now we got a couple of games in a row here, Penn State and Indiana, where there just wasn't a lot of that. And so if you do successfully come out and throw some of those screens, those hitches, those quick slants, maybe some RPO stuff, and you're running the ball, all of a sudden those safeties got to come downhill, and that's when maybe that downfield passing attack can open up again for more.
Well, when you have all those receivers, it's a space game. And a defense, we don't like a lot of space.
Yeah.
That creates problems because now we have guys who can't handle space. Safeties don't normally cover receivers.
Yeah.
It's tough. Well, let's bring some corners in and run a dime defense and have all the corners cover receivers. Well, now everybody's covering receivers. Who's stopping the run?
Right.
So that's when Oregon, you can get 4 receivers on the field, we'll call it 10 personnel on the field and spread the defense out. It is hard because you're going to have some one-on-one matchups. And at the same time, there's no run-stopping defense out there because they got cover guys on the field. They got corners on the field because safeties can't cover the guys. So you need to – I believe we got to take advantage of that.
Yeah. Well, let's see, man. The big bounce back for Oregon's offense today. A lot of angles to get into with it. We've talked a lot about them over the last hour and a half, 2 hours, and this is not a very good Rutgers defense. And so Indiana, you knew, and they're gonna give you some problems. That front seven's talented. They got a first-round, second-round draft pick and Pons in the secondary.
Yeah.
That does not exist today for Rutgers. And so play to your standard, clean some stuff up, take care of business. Let's talk to the color analyst of the Ducks, Mike Jorgensen. He's going to join us coming up next. His thoughts on the game, the setting in Rutgers, and he's out in Piscataway, and we'll talk to Mike Jorgensen. That is next, but now it's time for Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes. Here's Jeff Rust.
It is 61, sunny here in Portland, looking at a high of 62. Going to stay cloudy, a chance of precipitation increasing this evening. In Piscataway, though, in New Jersey, it's 70 and sunny. For the 6:30 local kick, 63 degrees, partly cloudy skies, 0 chance of precipitation, and almost no wind. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
The soil around your home is a lot like
Pizza, the very best.
We think that there's some alphas on our team, but nobody else right now does, and so that's the type of thing that you're going to have to prove.
With Ducks color analyst and former quarterback Mike Jorgensen, Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, welcome back in. We're almost done here. Wrapping things up shortly out of Grand Central Bowl Arcade and Sports Bar. Having a blast. Ole Miss, Georgia on the TV right in front of us. Games all over. They got TVs all over the place. Stop by a big alumni watch party coming up later this afternoon. A lot of folks starting to file in and get ready for a big college football Saturday. Let's talk to the color analyst of the Oregon Ducks, Mike Jorgensen. Love chatting with him every single week. And it sounds like the weather should be nice, so no jacket and umbrella needed for this one. Mike Jorgensen live from Piscataway. Set the scene for us, Jordan. The Sopranos theme playing? Like, what do we got going on out there in the setting for this game?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, there was a choir rehearsing before the game here about an hour ago, singing the Scarlet Knight fight song. I mean, it sounded like it was like a patriotic choir singing. It was just unbelievable. They don't do that at Austin Stadium or obviously Reser Stadium in Oregon State, that type of deal. So, you can just see there's so much tradition, from where football was born here in Piscataway, and the crowd is ready to go, pumping in a lot of artificial sound in here. So I'll tell you guys, it gets pretty loud sometimes.
Interesting. All right, that's a good one to keep an eye on. Let's take a look back, Jorgie. I mean, obviously a tough, emotional, painful loss, but as Anthony and I have talked about all morning, it doesn't have to be the end of your season, right? Use it as fuel, use it as a teaching moment, and bounce back. Just kind of the biggest takeaways from you from last weekend of what you saw at Autzen and what you're looking for them to clean up here today.
Well, I mean, I think one of the things that Oregon has done all year long until last week is they've taken the game to whoever they're playing. They've set the tone offensively, defensively, whatever it is. They're the ones that have set the tone, and that's exactly what Indiana did to Oregon last week. As they came and brought the game to Oregon, they took command of it. It felt like Oregon was kind of swimming against the current all game long, just trying to get back into it. So Indiana took control, and that's what Oregon needs to do here tonight. Not allow a team in Rutgers who has either been tied or has led every game at halftime. You can't let them get off to a good start and be playing from behind all game long. You got to kind of set the tone. And one of the things I think that has to really stick out in this game, Oregon has not been able to put pressure on a quarterback here recently, particularly against Indiana. They just did not get after the quarterback like Indiana did with Oregon. And so you got to make Rutgers quarterback uncomfortable, and Oregon's defensive ends, including Uiagalelei, have got to get on track right away.
Jorgie, let's talk about the mental game. And let's be honest, let's be real. Rutgers' defense is not very good. Their offense is okay. They got a good quarterback, a couple of good receivers, but they're not great. Okay, Oregon's traveling across the United States to play. How do you get this team up to deal with this challenge? Because there are some challenges, but again, football-wise, Rutgers is not great.
Yeah, Anthony, I tell you what, my hope is, and the way I think this team is going to respond is the bad taste they got in their mouth from last week. Nobody likes to lose, number one. Nobody likes to lose big games at home, number two. And number three, if they can't learn the freaking lesson that Penn State learns, and that is be focused on that next game, I don't know when you're going to learn something. So I just think this team is really ready to go in this one. You're right about Rutgers. They give up a lot of yards on defense. They could score points. Kaliakmanis is a pretty good quarterback. He's got some wide receiver targets, somewhat like Indiana did. One or two guys that are, you can't just worry about one. You got to worry about two. But Oregon's just got to be ready, and I really believe they are because of the bad taste they want to get out of their mouth and the lesson learned. I mean, they've talked all week long about look what happened. Look what happens if you get careless. And Penn State got careless, and look what happened.
Yeah, your coach is fired 3 weeks later, so let's avoid that. Nobody wants to see that happen. Let's bring the energy and the juice today. I'm with you. That's a great teaching moment for everybody, not just a loss for Oregon, but what happened at Penn State. By the way, a quick hat tip to you, Jorgie. The interview you guys had with Drew Maringer, the tight end coach and co-offense coordinator, he was awesome this week on the Coaches Show. A guy I didn't know a lot of. Oh, man, his backstory was great, and all the things that he had been through and the mindset and the philosophy that he brings. So credit to you guys. That was a really fun interview to listen to. Looking at that offensive side of the ball, and you can touch on this as a former quarterback, they seem to be, and Dante mainly, just kind of unsure of where pressure was coming from. Those simulated pressures really got to them, and they were confused at times. And I don't think all the sacks were on the offensive line. They gave up 6 as a team. I'd say 2 or 3 of them were just Dante running out of bounds. One of them is because a running back doesn't pick up a pressure. But just they had a challenge with that. Do you think they've spent the right time this week and focus on something that maybe Rutgers will try and duplicate today, confusing Dante of where guys are coming from?
Well, you sure would think the opposing teams in the future are going to take a look at that Indiana tape and try to mimic everything they can. You also have to have the players to execute it, too, and that's one thing that Indiana had that I don't think Rutgers has, frankly. But at the same time, you got to be much, much better because with Dante in particular in that game, once it gets in your head as a quarterback that pressure is coming and you can't figure it out, you're looking where to run instead of keeping your eyes down the field for guys that were open. There were guys open in that game against Indiana, and he just never had the time, or should I say, his eyes did not focus down the field because he was more worried about running for his life or worried about maybe the silent rush that's coming that's not there, but you start to hear the footsteps. And so one of the things Oregon's got to do tonight is protect, obviously. They've got to protect him. They've got to make it a lot easier for him so that his scrambles don't become run-for-your-life sacks. Indiana got a ton of sacks, got in Oregon's offensive line's head, I think in Dante Moore's head a little bit. They took care of business. I just don't see Rutgers being able to do that tonight, but I'll bet you they tried because they saw it on film.
Yeah.
Georgie, what's it like back there? Have you been back there before? Is this the first time
Never
for you?
been to New Jersey. Nope, first time. Yep. It's been
What about
cool.
did you guys see the campus and all that?
No. We got in last night about 9 o'clock, right to the hotel for dinner, and then not much to do but come to the stadium here today. So, it looks like a great fan base, a quaint stadium. And when I say a quaint stadium, I think it seats close to 50,000, but it doesn't look like it. It's a great place as a fan to be able to sit and watch a football game. For us, as from a broadcast standpoint, great angle right at the 50-yard line. Feels like we're at the Alamo Dome, which was a perfect level, perfect distance from the field. It's just a nice atmosphere here, and I think they're going to show up and pack it. They don't have to bring a whole lot of people to pack it. It's a pretty good fan base here. So I'm looking forward to this experience. It's going to be a great one.
Cool.
Yeah, new one to check off the bucket list and all. Preseason schedule comes out. You're like, Rutgers, that's the game, huh? And now they lose, and you're like, man, I can't wait. This is going to be a fascinating one to see how Oregon responds to the adversity that they're facing for the first time. Georgie, have a great call, buddy. Enjoy all the Sopranos themes out there, and we'll see you down next weekend at Autzen.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
There you go. Thanks. Mike Jorgensen, color analyst of the Oregon Ducks, brought to you, as always, by Bellagio's Pizza. Score big with their game day special. A large cheese or one-topping pizza, small cheese sticks, and a 2-liter. All for only $25. Go to Bellagio'sPizza.com to find one of their 13 locations near you. Great stuff from Georgie on the vibes. Yeah, we don't have any choirs singing at Autzen Stadium. We don't have one of those.
It's funny. I've been to a lot of stadiums, but I haven't been back there either.
I've been to New Jersey, but I've never been to a Rutgers game before.
Yeah.
That's not one that's ever been on my list.
One day. I just want to, when I get done coaching, I just want to just travel.
Just go to games.
I want to see the venues.
Well, it's fun, too, because certain pockets of the country, you can knock off, 5, 6, 7 in a small radius of space. You go down to, like, SEC country, man. They're all right there. 20 miles away from each other, it feels like, right?
Yeah.
A little bit different out here. Long ways away from Eugene, Oregon is where the Oregon football team is today. These are those games, I will admit, like, the Big Ten stuff, you get the Penn State whiteout, right, or Ohio State or Michigan, or, some of these games have a lot of juice going into them. Rutgers, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's,
Rutgers?
Hey,
Rutgers, Maryland.
Is the team saying the same thing?
Rutgers. They better not, man. I can say that because I ain't playing today. My ass isn't on the line. I'd say, like Rutgers, Maryland, Northwestern, anyone I'm missing, Purdue's kind of there, touchdown Georgia, they take the lead. Handful of these Big Ten teams. I'm like,
Minnesota?
What are we? Yeah, Minnesota. They're coming to town on a Friday. Although they kicked Nebraska's tail last night.
I saw that.
I heard
about
last night. So maybe we got to keep our eyes out for that one. Oregon and Rutgers getting closer to kick. What's at stake? We'll dive into that next on 105.1 FM The Fan.
Here are a few great things I've noticed
2 degrees. Going to stay cloudy with a chance of precipitation increasing this evening. In Piscataway, though, 70 degrees and sunny currently for the 6:30 local kick. 63 degrees, partly cloudy skies, 0 chance of precipitation, and almost no wind. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
The grill is sizzling. Some teams are cooked. It's time for What's at Stake.
You know what? I'm going to cook on your grill.
A look at the smoking hot games in college football. Brought to you by Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. More than just your favorite neighborhood steakhouse.
I am going to have that third steak after all. Go ahead and put that order in now.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
We'll get to What's at Stake in a moment. Don't forget to tune into the Dick Hanna Dealerships post-game scoreboard show with Joe Fish, and Jordan Schultz will be recapping the entire thing later on this evening on The Fan as the game kicks off at 3:30, and they'll be done. They'll be on right when the broadcast is done, the post-game show with Jerry Jorge and Dusty and Joey Mack. Quick look at a couple of scores around the country. Wisconsin, who is in town next weekend. Oregon's wearing tie-dye. That's the Grateful Dead game. It is already 17-0 at home. They are trailing Ohio State at the end of the first quarter. I'm not kidding when I say Wisconsin might be the worst team in all of college football. They are just dreadful. And so, that's one kind of name your score, what you want to win by. In Indiana, they're losing right now in the second quarter to Michigan State. So, come on, Indiana. Come on, man. Although that would be massive for Oregon and their chances to go to a Big Ten title game. What's at stake? Anthony, I'll just to me, it's about confidence, and it's about peaking at the right time, right? Playing your best football and the time of the year when you need to play your best football, and that's in November going into December. Oregon's got Rutgers today. They got Wisconsin home next week, who is just dreadful, and then they get a bye week. Mm-hmm. And then your season closes with a stretch of Minnesota, who looks pretty good, Iowa on the road, who can play defense, a tough place to go play, USC and Washington. Yeah. And so the last month of your schedule is a lot more challenging than what the next 2 weeks will present. And I look at this game and next week's game. What's at stake is confidence in building up to that home stretch in November.
And dealing with adversity.
Yes.
Because adversity is a part of football.
Yep.
It's a part of life. Yep. And the kids have to understand, we can't play perfect every time. And we lost the game. How do you bounce back? It's always the next play. It's the next game, and so these kids get caught up in, I tried so hard and I failed and all, and you're still thinking about it. Yeah. No, move on. Go to the next game. And just like Penn State, don't let it
beat it twice.
Don't let it beat you twice.
Yeah, your season can crater, man. It can go quick.
Exactly.
I'd point to the game that Oregon won in the regular season last year over Ohio State. Who won the national title last year?
That's Ohio State.
Ohio State did. Who lost at home in embarrassing fashion to Michigan at the end of the year? Ohio State did. It didn't matter, right? They peaked at the right time and then played their best football when they needed to. And so I'm with you, man. Just dealing with adversity. It'll be fun to see how this young team handles that challenge. It is a very young team, and they got a chance to handle that challenge today. What's at Stake brought to you by Laurelhurst Market. More than just your friendly neighborhood steakhouse. Make your reservation today at laurelhurstmarket.com. And again, remember to tune in later to the Dick Hanna Dealerships postgame scoreboard show. Our final thoughts, we'll give you a look at the line and picks for the game. Wrap it up next on 105.1 FM The Fan.
Hey, it's Dirt here from my friends at home.
All right, I want to again thank our hosts out here at Grand Central Bowl Arcade and Sports Bar. And we're every road game. A reminder, we're going to be out here the rest of the season. So it's a lot of fun. We had a great time out here, great crowd, people watching football, big alumni watch party later. They got deals going on with Coors Light, Duck Ritas, Hot Valley, Dan Green. Great stuff. Oregon 17.5-point favorite. What do we think, Anthony?
Oregon wins big, 42-14.
42-14. I'm going to go 38-21. 38-21.
Okay. Oh,
get some rust off,
Oh, 21. Okay.
And then, trending in the right direction.
Okay.
There you go. The line to watch as we wrap things up. Listen to the Dick Hanna Dealerships postgame scoreboard show coming up this afternoon. Oregon and Rutgers at 3:30. We'll send you out to Piscataway, New Jersey. That's next. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to 105.1 FM The Fan.
This has been Ducks Game Day, presented by Coors Light. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app. Oregon Ducks football on the Fan is brought to you by Coors Light, Dick Hanna Dealerships, Philbrook Law, Zoom Care, Bellagio's Pizza,